little bit of setup. Let's see if I can do it all super fast. Flap. Pop that right there. Go here. Do this. Go like one of these. Hey, yo, congratulations on the first Ashton, I say with squinty eyes. You're getting squinty-eyed today. You are today's little shit, Ashton. I should cuss like 3 seconds in. Kill me. I'm fine. I'm so normal. Thank you so much for the first. Congratulations. Enjoy your XP. Heckin' goober. Oh, goodness. Goodness. Hello, how's it going?
It's been so long.
It's been so long since we've spoken. Let me go to... There we go. Okay, we're here. Hi, how's it? Oh, yes, Trank. It's been especially long. Hi, Trank. Hi, Munchie. Hi, Ashton. Turn my PC at the perfect time, apparently. That's crazy to get a first after turning on your PC. That's actually wild if so. Okay. Live in both places. Live in both places, indeed. Oh, look, it's the stream. Hi, Moonboy. Hi, Donut. Hi, Nev. Hi, Rix. How's it going?
Ori, very sad thing happened to me a bit before.
Oh, what's that? I do not have a companion today, actually. I'm just yapping. Hey, what's up? Hey, welcome in. How's it going? I like those emotes. Those are some crazy emotes. Walks in to push you over cutely. Hey, Missy, how you doing? I adore you. I adore how you look, even a hot girl in record story. See, once again, never again. Oh my goodness. Wait, hold on. That's like the craziest explanation that I just mumbled through ever. I love that. Yeah, just pretty much pure yap stream. Hey, what's up, Sherbs? Early, don't. Shh, I'm always early. You guys know this. I'm always early. Hi, Dragonic. How's it going? Welcome in. Okay. Do I have everything? I think I have everything that I need. I think we're good.
At Sherbert _plays Ori can afford it, smile.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about what Ori can afford here in just a second. Ashton. Ashton, how do you want to do this? Do you want to be ceremonious about it? You want to be surprising? Do you want me to just add it and just say nothing? It's on screen. People can see it right now. It's visible. If anybody was curious, it is visible right now. I'm so mad, dude. I'm so mad. I'm so grateful and so happy and so mad. Oh, why did you do that? Thank you so much, Taito. I appreciate you. There we go.
For 16 months.
Much appreciated. On to the subboard you go. Banish to the subboard. Absolutely banish to the subboard. You're dressed up nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was at the top of my dresser. I'm trying to get in the habit of dressing nicer more often. Honestly. Whoop. Trying to avoid the sin of boring wardrobe. Which isn't actually that bad, but I don't know. Makes me feel spunky every once in a while. Okay. What did Ashton say? Where's Ashton? Ashton,
it is very sparkly.
Chat it, then shout? Okay.
At Kenturin, indeed.
Let me do some math real quick, chat. Don't worry. Nothing bad is going to happen. Nothing bad would ever happen.
I kinda have a period of doubting my ability to contribute my creative project RN. Sad face. Sad face.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Well, I hope you start building up some of that motivation, dog streamer. I appreciate you being here. I hope it starts to build itself back up a little bit. I know it comes in waves for me.
Ori had missed the explanation as to why I was sad today. Extra sad now.
I apologize for missing it. So we'll start there. We'll start there. All right. Yeah, that's a good start. That's a good start. Luckily, we're not done. Then we'll go like this. It should be, I believe, that. Oh my goodness, is that a hype train? Oh, I forgot. Oh yeah, I guess. Okay, yeah, I guess we're just doing this now. Almost done. Almost
nice
done.
Speaker.
Nice speaker. Speaker. All right, so here we go. It's now time that I finally get to 3 prismatic shards in 1 year of Stardew so far. I'm at the end of summer. That's insane. Yes, it's now time that I finally get to yell at Ashton because chat, I don't know why this is becoming a thing. I don't know where this is coming from. I got no explanation on this. I happened to be in a VC with them and they said, shh, You don't talk for 24 hours. And I go, yes, sir, I guess. But there you go, Chad. It's right up there. It's right up there. I don't know why you guys keep doing this. I don't know what kind of bullshit you guys are planning. But if you look at the top right corner, first of all, that's the timer right now. That's the timer right now. We're at 180 hours again. In the middle of June, in like 2 weeks time, in 2 weeks of stream time, we're gonna have another Patreon. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about this. But if you look at that, that's a tip right there, chat. That's a tip. Happy Pride. Yeah, no shit, dude. 180 hours, chat. 181 hours. Ashton, I don't even know why. Like, what do I do? What do I do with this, dude? Guys, you need to stop. 35 hours. Dear God. Oh, was there a soft speak? Was there a soft speak? I apologize. I missed it, so let me find. Thank you for the trade. I really appreciate it. There's a hydrate. I missed a hydrate. Did I? Oh, there's not a soft speak. Will you just tell me to feel appreciated? Fuck it. I hate this. I hate this. I don't want to feel appreciated. This is terrible. Was there a soft speak? I don't have anything for a soft speak. I'm just going to assume that you're correct. I'm just going to assume that you're correct and that there's a soft speak. Thank you for the hug. Much appreciated. Yes, indeed. Half bank, half timer. That was a half timer right there. That 180 right there was a half timer. Yeah. Why is there no stream week on Saturday? That's because I'm celebrating Father's Day on that day. I did not want to do it specifically that day, but it seems like the schedule had other plans. So it is going to be me celebrating. I'm going to a party, essentially, for lack of a better term, that Saturday. So, W Ori Dad? Not quite, but same diff. On Father's Day, Pog, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. I wanted to put something below it, but the only reason that I didn't put an actual, like, mode below it that said basically what I was doing that day was because it usually makes it seem like there is a stream that day, and I didn't want to make it look that way. Hi, how's it going, Pax? Welcome in, welcome in. I apologize if I missed you earlier. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you. I don't think I have double... No, I should have double chat, so I should be able to see both. Seems nice, I believe. Appreciate it. Man, it keeps resizing itself over and over and over again. Thank you guys so much. Ashton, you're absolutely insane. I'm gonna stick to this for a little bit. You're absolutely insane. I cannot believe that. How lucky was it that I caught it in the middle of a... I want you to know that I saw the tip command going up a few times, just like out of nowhere, because I just keep Twitch open. I don't restart my computer. Everyone knows I don't restart and turn off my computer. And I just saw the tip command going up, and a few times I looked at it, I was like, squint, and I was like, people are just being silly. I'm sure people are just being silly. And then I'm on a call with Ashton, and I hear the tip thing, the tip alert go off out of nowhere, and I'm like, what? And I go over, and I'm like, huh? And I'm like, Ashton, and Ashton's like, shut up. No. And I'm like, the you mean? Totally didn't forget the link the second time I feel that. People are just being silly. 500 nuclear bombs. How did Rain react? Rain was like, what? Rain has a really big, like, deer in headlights look that he gives, like a proprietary big eyes look that he gives, and he sat there. And like I had to like do like this thing in front of him for a second. Yeah, big Lello. Can I get when I hear as Mother's Day? Lello, I do that too. That's so real, dude. I feel like I do that, but it's like not nearly as expressive. Like I'll just be like, huh? So insane, dude. So insane. I cannot believe how crazy you guys have gone for just basically the amount of support and donation that you guys have given is absolutely bonkers. It's kind of crazy. Like, it is actually like genuinely activated a few projects that I did not think would be plausible within the year. I can't talk much about them, unfortunately, but just know that you guys make this shit possible, like, unironically. Like, I know that that sounds like like a buzzword or like a buzz phrase, I guess, but it's really not. Like things are becoming possible because of you guys. Like, I just want you guys to know that. Like, I want you guys to know that like things are possible because of. No, you're so fine, Dog Streamer. You're fine. I don't reboot my computer sometimes. I've been doing it more nowadays, but I never do it a bit. Do it a bit in the past. No, I am horrible about restarting my computer, dude. It's so bad. It's so bad how horrible I am at it. Genuinely. Which I find funny, personally. I like your opinions on Magic, funny man. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. That is going to be the talk for today. That's going to be the conversation for today. If you're on Twitch, you probably have ads right now. We're going to be talking about Magic, especially Magic in writing. Now, a lot of times when I do one of these, I'll usually have somebody else to talk to, but I think we might just be on this screen for a lot of today. We'll see. We'll see. But today is going to be the conversation about Magic. I'm gonna periodically point and poke at Ashton because he's crazy. For anyone who doesn't know, I've been beating around the bush here.
It's fine.
Ashton in between streams donated $1,000 just out of nowhere. Just dropped a 1K tip out of nowhere. Just dropped a band on my face. So, I'm still, like, kind of a little bit flabbergasted, freaking out about it every once in a while. Ashton, if you did get warnings? Did I? I mean, the tip command is not a warning that someone's about to smack you with a brick like that. $K nuke. And then I was like, if you have a request with that, just let me know. I mean, I do normally rule that you can't retroactively request, but, you know, if there's enough digits in it, sometimes I guess you get around it. Here's a rat. Go buy yourself a pina colada. I can afford boba with that. Okay. Today's conversation, once I finally get back on topic, is going to be about the most recent video. The most recent video was Crank picked to 420 hours. I set a timer and Rain said immediately, so I wasn't waiting for stream. Gosh dang it. Hi, Hale. Be here for a little bit before a movie. Ashton donated $1,000. Yeah. We're at 180 hours right now. That was a half timer right there. That's half timer 180. Yeah, and then if you look up there, you see that Ashton did the funny number thing. I am so cry. I'm freaking out, dude. Set a timer and set immediately, and Rate said immediately, so I wasn't waiting for stream. You guys are insane.
Next to donate $1,000 is me. Watch/J.
Oh my goodness, you guys, stop donating $1,000. You don't need to do that. You really don't need to do that. Please. You guys
Hale
are so fine.
_Abyss, yes, main character.
So
apparently he did.
So the conversation today is about magic systems, right? So there was a video, my most recent video, on BoobTube. On the Ori Don't channel for the amazing Twitch people. Let me go grab. Oh, you guys can't see my screen right now. So this one right here is, are magic systems really about rules? This video was basically going
also
into the difference between
BOOPTube. Nice.
BoopTube. Yep, BoopTube indeed. This video right here is talking about magic systems, or specifically soft magic versus hard magic, or at least that's a big concept about it. Originally goes into the video in order, goes about magic in real life, in like how it historically has impacted us as people. So back in Mesopotamia, the way that magic was practiced, the way that it was considered in practice in Egypt via Heka, which is both a god and an ancient Egyptian god and a practice, right? So that was the practice of incantation. The way that Greeks practice alchemy, and so on and so on. Leading into, funny enough, kind of a little bit abruptly into security through obscurity. And for the people here who love and or hate, yes, there was a Blueprints reference drop in this video as well. There are probably some people who love and some people who hate Blueprints now from how often I talk about it at this point. I suppose it depends on how strict the rules are in Magic. Sometimes Magic and Magic adjacent concepts are used as storytelling concepts. I think the Force from Star Wars counts. Yes, the Force from Star Wars is actually an example of a quote-unquote magic system that I really wanted to put in that video that did not end up in that video. And I do want to talk about that. But when we talk about magic systems, one of the examples, and there was a line from this, I should have had this prepared. There was a line from this that I really liked. And it was me going, I'm going to name off a handful of topics. And I want you to tell me if you think these are magic, right? I want you to process them in your mind for a second and say, is that magic? And answer accordingly for each one. Funny enough, there was a typo in the script, and it was supposed to say water bending and not water breathing, but it was zombies, water bending, but I said water breathing. The Force from Star Wars is a really good example, but that was not one that was in there. Oh goodness, what was it? There was a handful I really liked in there. But one of the last one that was kind of important here was SpongeBob SquarePants, right? The two big examples were waterbending and SpongeBob SquarePants. Now, the reason why these were brought up is because BP on my wish list now. Good. No, you thought you misheard that? Yeah. So one of the examples that were given is SpongeBob SquarePants magic, right? My personal response to that, and this is a genuine response that I had while writing this, I was like, is SpongeBob SquarePants magic? And I'm like, no. No, I mean, like, at least not in a traditional sense, if so, right? Because, like, when I think of SpongeBob SquarePants, I don't think of magic. Magic has a connotation to me. Zombies are biological most times unless they're in fantasy. Yes, indeed. And that's, like, kind of part of the question. I mean, a lot of this is going to end up hinging on this unfortunate pillar of, it depends on the setting. All of our semantics are going to vary from system to system, from story to story, but in the most traditional sense, in my opinion, and the reason why this deserves to be an open discussion, in my opinion, when you say something like zombies, my first thought is magic, which is partially a bias, right? Because the systems that I have adopted, or the systems that I'm used to,
applies from like 2+ layers of abstraction out.
oh hey, congrats on the puzzle coin, Nebula. Let's go. In my experience, in the systems that I use, in the stories that I indulge in, zombies come from a magical source. Do they come from magic in Zombieland in Resident Evil? I don't think so. Probably not. They probably come from scientific means, but they feel magic. There's that rule from Arthur C. Clarke that I'm sure a lot of people know, and that is, let me actually, hold on. Magic Science, Arthur C. Clarke. I want to get this quote exact. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I'm going to mention, someone commented on that, and it was the coolest thing I'd ever heard ever, pretty much, roughly. So I'm going to talk about that. But that is to say that if Resident Evil had zombies and did not use magic, I would not know that, right? Like, if you didn't give me the premise, I would look at it and go, those might be magic. And in general, zombies to me usually refer to magic in some way, because that's my personal language when it comes to those. That's my personal experience, bias, and language. Magic is science we don't understand. Indeed it do be. Or at least is such a way to interpret it, at least. However, it is a way that I often interpret it. Enjoy your puzzle coin, Nebula. Thank you very much for redeeming. With that in mind, SpongeBob SquarePants was a really funny one. Now, if any of you don't know what SpongeBob SquarePants is, it's a Nickelodeon show, about a talking sea sponge and a few other friends, like Pearl the whale and Patrick Star, the starfish, and Mr. Krabs, the money-loving
crab. It's more a text than a question.
So the question was, is that magical, right? And again, they have, I believe, at least briefly expressed magic in that show, but like wizard magic, you know what I mean? Like arcana in some fashion. It was like a one-off trope, if I remember correctly. Who lives in a pineapple under the... Yes, exactly. And when I think about this, I'm like, that's not magic. It's weird. It's a system of some variety, right? And it's a soft system at that, right? There's very few rules. The rules are whatever makes sense at the time, whatever pushes the current story forward, right? But realistically, if we were to take all of the systems together, I did not explain this very well in the video, in my opinion, but if you were to take all of the systems, like every single fantasy or non-realistic fiction there is, it kind of expresses mechanically like a soft magic system, right? If you were to use soft magic system as this blanket term for non-realistic systems, then SpongeBob does kind of have a soft magic system. Up for debate, but at least in my head, that's what I would call it. I would call it a soft magic system. Magic being an extremely umbrella level term here. Regardless of that, another example that I had, and I did get corrected on a few times, was Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, there was a scene in the pilot episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender that says it's not magic, it's water bending, which was a really, really important and impactful quote for me when I was writing this. Nature can be scary and alien to us, so much that a type of zombie changes would be as well seen like magic. Just look at the stuff from Resident Evil. The fact that nature can feel magic is, I think, a really big part of this conversation, truly. SpongeBob abstractly has magic, but in the same way, cartoon logic is magic explored in stuff like Roger Rabbit. I think that cartoon magic is the best example of radical soft magic, right? Like Looney Tunes, you know, Mickey Mouse, old Disney cartoons, SpongeBob SquarePants, you know, cartoon logic is a form of soft magic. I have a story about that, chat. If I don't remember, remind me to talk about Century the Skeleton, because Century the Skeleton is my favorite example of a soft magic character and a hard magic system. We'll get back to that, but TLDR, or I'm sorry, not TLDR, going back a little bit, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, I used that pilot scene where they say it's not magic, it's waterbending, as an example to say this is a system, this is a quote-unquote hard magic system that recognizes its in-world building so well that magic still holds the terminology that we have today, right? Like when we say magic, we mean something that we don't understand, that we cannot explain, so on and so on. And they also use that for not waterbending, because it's not magic, it's waterbending. That differentiation is so cool to me, because it shows that it's so nominal to them, right? It's so common to them that magic is not a usable term for them anymore. It's so realistic and it's really grounding. Now, I will say that people did correct me and say it's not that they understand on a fundamental level why it happens, they just understand the techniques of it. And I still think that a lot of the arguments fit accordingly, but I do want to clarify that. Notably, in Avatar, they don't, like, know on a fundamental level, like, what's going on. They don't know, like, the quantum mechanics behind it, I don't think. However, they know how to manipulate it in a meaningful way. Now, certain insects are so damn alien to us, they look like also seem magical. Honestly, there are a few insects that I think could be magical. If you told me that there are certain insects that...
Thingy.
Oh, you did? Okay, awesome. If you told me that there were certain bugs that were just magic, I'd be like, yeah, probably. And that is part of the alliteration when it comes to magic, right? The term magic and how superfluous its meanings can be, or how vague that term is, I guess, for lack. Simple random question that you prompted in my head. Do you think it would make sense if Rivera had at least an internal rule to not call magic magic because it implies a degree of mysticism and means it innately unknowable on some level? I think that would absolutely make sense, yeah. There's also a scene in Naruto, it might be specifically the Naruto manga, when Sasuke outright refers to ninjutsu as magic as well. Oh, interesting. Are they calling it magic, or are they saying that it's not magic? Butterflies. TLDR. This is kind of the long and the short of the story that we were talking about when it comes to talking about magic and what magic systems look like. This was kind of the premise that we brought up. Blueprints was also a premise that I will say very, very briefly, because I feel like it's not going to be nearly as well known. I know a lot of people in chat are going to know a lot about Blueprints, but on a more global scale, I think that's probably not going to be nearly as well known. Blueprints is a really interesting example of what I would call a soft magic system, at least up to that I've seen, because it kind of uses like a little bit of, not cartoon logic, but a little bit of cartoon logic. And I say that in the way of, it doesn't matter how it happens, it mattered that it happened, right? Now, to be fair, that's arguably what you could say, that's something you could say about Avatar: The Last Airbender, but the point is that Blueprints is this game where you walk in, and behind every door could be a different room. The home resets regularly, and you have to redraft the home room by room, right? And the house will be completely empty when you walk in at the beginning of the day, and then slowly begin to populate as time goes on. How does that function? I don't know. I have no idea. Haven't finished my playthrough. I think a lot of people don't know. I don't think anybody knows. what the reasoning behind that is. People might have an idea of how it happens and what have you, but people don't know what causes it necessarily. To me, that's a form of soft magic system. And it's a really cool one. And in the video, this is how we got into security through obscurity, which is how I've described for a long time how puzzle games work. If any of you have played The Vault, and I'm sure at least some of you have played The Vault, that is a very, very common mentality that we use, right? Security through obscurity means to lock something behind levels of complexity, right? The security that prevents you from accessing it is obscurity or complexity or some level of convolution, right? Which is generically what a puzzle game is. It's the whole point of a puzzle game, right? The fact that you could have literally beaten the game in like 5 minutes if you knew what you were doing, right? Blue Prince is a great example of this, and it's the reason I use it as an example. But if you know exactly what to do, if you had a guide, if you had somebody experience whispering in your ear the first time, you could literally get these huge advancements like 2 seconds in without any issues whatsoever. And that's what speedruns look like for this game. However, it's security through obscurity, so it normally takes an average playthrough, 10s, 20s, dozens of hours for you to actually get to that point, because you have to unravel all of these levels of obscurity first. And to me, this is really important when it comes to hard and soft magic, because you can have hard magic looked like soft magic through obscurity. It's weird, Jinjutsu in Naruto can also be soft magic, but also be achieved somewhat with hallucinogens. Datura, maybe? Oh, interesting. That's really interesting. Magic, at least in my setting, is an umbrella term that has multiple separate systems, druidic magic, alchemy, evocation, necromancy, etc., that exist in tandem but are not inherently linked. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think magic being a vague term is okay. It's okay that it's a vague term. The more that you define magic, I think the more it kind of loses its fundamental meaning. I think in a lot of cases. Depending. I think that's not always true. I think there's a lot of times where we use magic kind of from an author's bias, right? Like, we use magic as we know it. What would be magic to us is not necessarily magic to them, or at least our characters or our world, but we let them call it magic because it makes sense to us as readers, right? Because we know, from our perspective, that fireball is magic, because that's not realistic. It's not something that would ever happen. It's weird and non-mundane and so on and so on. It's unordinary. To them, fireball is probably not something they would call magic, barring the term that we kind of shoved on it. You know what I mean? Fireball's not magic to them. It's a part of normal life, right? Not that everybody's just slinging fireballs, unless you're in, your D&D group, then they are. But otherwise, we have hard magic that looks like soft magic. Hey, babe, you just described the Owl House. Literally, dude. Okay, yes. I really love the amount of world building that I see in indie media, right? Indie media seems to often have this really, really densely packed and coded world that has very, very tough rules, very stringent rules. But you can go through like an entire piece of media, you can go through an entire show, an entire comic, whatever, and you'll just never learn that. Because it's not pertinent. That was the conclusion of the video. Sometimes it's just not pertinent. Sometimes it just doesn't matter, right? Like, not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't impact the story that you're trying to tell. And that was a big thing that Brandon Sanderson said. Let me go find it. I want to make sure. An author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. Now, if you want to write an encyclopedia on your magic tech, you absolutely can. I have no problem with that. Obviously, have a great time doing that. But when it comes to telling a story, it's not about expositing all of this information, right? It's not about just spitting out as much information as humanly possible. It's about telling the story. And a lot of times, a lot of these systematic features don't need those mechanics. Oh, I'm sorry. The story doesn't need these mechanics in order to function, right? Like, it doesn't need all these various mechanics for the story to progress. Now, in my head, I treat it very logistically when I go to writing.
And I've been reminded of it again.
Video
I feel Ori just got into the yappy mode.
Ooh, Ori, your video makes me have the thought of puzzle games with the task of decoding magic system to progress. Wait, no, I love that. No, wait, hold on. I love this. Bathroom Now by Ori. Hope you feel nice and missing. Give a small comment towards something I like about Blue Prince. What? I've watched a lecture multiple times. Got a kick out of seeing a screenshot from one of them. Yep. I watched a good chunk of that lecture specifically. I think I watched the 7th lecture of Brandon Sanderson. Now, I haven't read Brandon Sanderson's books. I obviously know his rapport and his renown. Alchemy could also be seen as magic as well, but it depends on the society and exposure to it. Some chemicals can cause small explosions, and I know some people will see that as magic. Oh, absolutely. The level of magic, it very much depends on our fundamental understanding. This is kind of the meta thing about it, in my opinion. This is kind of where it gets a little bit meta. An author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands magic, and I mentioned in the video that this has a very polarizing definition, right? Like, it means both itself and the polar opposite to itself, because if we understand it less, it becomes more magic, right? Now, realistically, these are two types of magic, right? We have this literary magic that is fireball, I cast ice bolt, whatever, and then you have this magic that means whimsy and misunderstanding or lack of information on, right? It's funny because magic in that definition kind of lends itself to how horror functions, but I digress. So we're talking about our own setting. In mind, magic is an in-universe term, refers to either to manipulating a ether as a whole, which means we're talking about every supernatural ability that exists, or more commonly refers to, where'd you go? People who manifest aspects, which are the set of 13 elements that people can sling pretty much like Avatar/Naruto elements. Make sense? Yep. That is amazing. Until otherwise objected, I'm screenshotting it with your name, so I know it's your idea, of course. Okay, understood. The idea behind the video was basically that the pertinence of the system kind of matters when it comes to telling a story of any variety. When it comes to actually telling the story that you're trying to tell, the question is, how much does the system matter? And that's kind of one of my... Correction. No, that's wrong. Not how much does the system matter. How much do the inner mechanics of the system matter in reference to the story that you're trying to tell right now? Now, I do want to say that one of my favorite things about a lot of indie media is that it feels like they have this built-out world, where you see one mechanic pop up so many times, you see the patterns, it feels grounded. Hi, gal. It feels like it is so consistent. And that's really cool. I like when people world build a lot, including if they do not happen to mention it outright. It makes me personally very curious, or as Hale said, the security through obscurity type puzzle game where you just have to learn how the magic system functions through inference and patterns. How long has this been running? About 30 minutes, yeah. So this is kind of the base of the conversation. I think that's pretty much the basis of what I was talking about. I do have this tab open. I want to talk about it because this is a really, really interesting topic to me. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And somebody commented recently and said, what if we flip that around and said, any sufficiently advanced magic, any sufficiently understood magic is indistinguishable from science. That was such a cool thing. That was such a cool idea that someone brought up. And I was like, oh my God. Wait, that's so real. Because that's where it begins to flip around, right? So a lot of people who know me and know my work know that a lot of what I do is based in the world of Utopia or Mirror Myth, if you've heard of either of those titles. And that was kind of the premise, right? Is that once they begin to understand it well enough, it becomes science. In my video previous to the one that we're talking about right now, What If Magic Was Real, this was kind of a big part of the conversation, right? Yo, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the new patrons. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the people supporting on Patreon. I love you. You guys are awesome. There's a point where magic becomes so well understood that it becomes science, and there's a point where science becomes so misunderstood that it becomes magic. There's kind of this threshold here. Limitations of magical artifacts fills many of the conditions that keep them interesting compared to straight spells or item crafting. Yard. And again, I think that the nuance and the unknowingness of it, I think, is what, for instance, makes wild magic so interesting, right? Like, people love wild magic because you don't know what's going to happen. I think that's part of the whimsy and the intrigue behind it. From what I've seen, hard magic is better when that's the focus. If you want magic, but only has a background source of wonder, soft magic may be better. Like Lord of the Rings, Gandalf has magic, but the focus is the journey. Meanwhile, Sanderson focuses much more on the magic and its mechanics, so he uses hard magic. Me, earlier today. Yeah, indeed. I think that hard magic is cool when it's a part of the story, especially. Like, hard magic definitely has its place. I think that one of the things I did poorly in that video was I kind of bagged on hard magic a little bit harder than I meant to. I love hard magic. Hard magic's my favorite, dude. I love grindy, super crunchy mechanics. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't have a very high attention span, though. So, take it with a grain of salt when I say that, because if you just exposit world mechanics at me, I'm not gonna understand it, right? But I like it in practice, right? When it's interlaced with the world, where there's only so many ways a thing could physically function. If I were to say, hey, can you do this? And you go, no, you can't because X, that's cool. I like that. I really like the idea of saying, no, that's just not possible in this world, because there are limitations. There are things that just aren't possible. Magic is not a silver bullet. It is understood, and it is mechanized. It is innovated on. It is learned. You know what I mean? I love that premise so much. I do see both chats. However, it can be really difficult for me I'm likely not going to read every chat message, unfortunately. I'm going to try to pick through it, because there's going to be a lot of text that I'm not going to be able to read through and still be able to comment on and things like that. So I try to do it periodically, as to the best of my ability. Apologies if I am missing anything. When anyone say dislike hard magic, you literally mentioned quantum mechanics in passing, but also many videos lean on hard magic, advocating a little more for soft magic is warranted. I agree. I think I agree with that. And that's kind of might be a little bit of an overcorrection on my side, because I really, really love hard magic to the point of where soft magic sometimes I struggle to understand to some extent. Like, it can be kind of difficult for me to follow along with soft magic. I actually have this really big dissonance with, like, okay, this is going to sound really bad and going to be kind of controversial. Still think they're amazing, but I have a dissonance with Studio Ghibli movies, right? I love the work that they do, and I think it's very creative and very artistic, but I don't do well with abstraction. Like, I guess what I should say is I can't grok it very well. I don't have a lot of intuition for what's going on, and I struggle to kind of become invested and grounded in those worlds when I have literally no idea why one thing might happen, right? And sometimes that's part of the story. You know, SpongeBob, oddly enough, is kind of the same way, or any cartoon logic. You're not intended to know what's going to happen, right? There isn't a pattern. The point is that whatever happens is meant to be, on a literal term, buffoonery. Like the actual terminology for that type of comedy, buffoonery, in the world of SpongeBob or in Looney Tunes, what have you. It's just something really surprising is meant to happen. And there's ways to do that artistically. There's ways to do that, you know, in a more eloquent style, like what Studio Ghibli does. And the way that you're not intended to know what's going to happen, right? And maybe somebody who watches a lot more Studio Ghibli than I do may be able to be like, no, I can predict it. And I would believe you, honestly, if you said that. I would believe you if you're like, no, I can predict it. But to me, as someone who hasn't been super invested in Studio Ghibli and who has watched a handful of Studio Ghibli movies, it's hard for me because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it works, and what I would expect to happen usually doesn't happen. And that's kind of cool. Like, it's kind of whimsical in that nature.
Link asterisk never seen a Ghibli movie, but they all look really pretty.
Yeah, that. Pretty much that. And the sheer focus on scarcity of magical items allows for that item to just have multiple uses, which lets it have more than one impact on the story, its own personal touch. Indeed, I like stories where there was a point in the video where I said, if you want to write a story where I could hand you a stat block and you can map out 12 different ways that this fight could mechanically go, that's for hard magic. That's my favorite. I want to do that. I want to be that guy. I want to make stat blocks for them, and I want to break them. That was one of the biggest, like, this is like genuinely, like, this is borderline embarrassing. One of the biggest inspirations that I had for Utopia was my want to clarify the Spider-Man versus Captain America debate, because I'm so sorry, Captain America would get dumpstered. But I was like, how do we make this a little bit more objective, right? And this is before I had these big conversations and knew what hard magic and soft magic meant. Before I played a ton of, you know, TTRPGs to the point of where my lexicon of mechanics had expanded to even the minor amount that it is now, but to much more than it was then. Before then, I was just so irritated by this idea that, you know, there's no objective way to clarify X would win against Y. In this scenario, this would happen, you know, whatever. And I just wanted numbers. I wanted hard, crunchy numbers that I could look at and say, okay, the real answer is circumstantial, because it always is. But in a vast majority of circumstances, barring extreme disadvantage on one side, this character is basically always going to win that fight and is rarely ever going to die. Caps gets fucking slaughtered if we're talking like default kit 616 incarnations both. That's what I was thinking, at least at the time. And maybe that was part of the distance to the conversation. This is crime. You should go straight to jail now. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Have a good eve, dog streamer. I appreciate you. Like, when you get some, like, loot and then also being magical in D&D feels a lot better than getting a new spell when you have no spell slots. You know, honestly, that's actually really fair. Locking away the power from a bygone era prevent them from having every single permutation explored and the system integrated into society. Elaborate backstories create more weight than incantations. And the sheer focus on scarcity of magical items allows for that item to just have multiple uses. I think that the idea behind scarcity is a really important part of not necessarily just soft magic, but the whimsy behind even a hard magic system. That's part of the security through obscurity, right? Is how often they get to access information. If you can collect some data point, some piece of information about the magic system once every 6 seconds, once every 10 seconds, you know, 5 times a minute, you're going to figure it out. You're going to deduce it if you wish to. But not only that, you will likely become, thank you so much for the people who are pledging on Patreon. I really appreciate you guys. Not only that, you will likely become oversaturated with information, right? The information will become dense and heavy, and there will be a lot to intuit in a very short period of time. I am a grazing animal when it comes to system information. So I will oversaturate myself to the point of where I cannot understand what's going on anymore. Want this question answered, but it's too late to resend it to you. Okay, now, Ori, I have a question for you. What do you consider superhero powers, like Hulk as an example, magic? We do understand how it works from the outside. Anger equals green shock monster, but at least in the MCU, all the inner workings we get is gamma radiation. I think that is soft magic in a lot of cases. In my head, and in my opinion, I think that a lot of superhero franchises try to push the barrier, like try to break into hard magic. Gorilla of Destiny? What is that? But I think that it usually kind of falls a little bit short. I used to be so excited and so fascinated when they used real terminology, right? Where they would use like gamma radiation, for instance, or they would talk about the Planck length or something like that. When I was a kid and I didn't understand what those meant, I was super excited. I was like, yo, that's like real. It made it feel grounded and interesting. And maybe that's just me being a nerd. However, what I ended up learning is that it doesn't make sense, and Ant-Man should not be able to do what he does. You know what I mean? I think that truthfully, it's a soft magic system with a hard magic coat of spray paint that kind of chips a little bit. They didn't put primer down first. You can make such a rich story behind a magical artifact and its previous owners. Good use of misuse. You can have all the terms and conditions and the exceptions as well. Sentient artifact. I actually have a conversation about that. But firstly, any sufficiently theoretical sci-fi is indistinguishable from a generally softer magic? Yeah. Gorilla of Destiny was the YouTube channel I sent to you that is trying to find a quantum theory of D&D magic. Oh, I remember this. I remember that. Yes, I do remember that. I think I have seen them. I kind of want to talk to them. I want to reach out to them. Be like, hey, want to talk? Ignore me, chat. Oh, I think they're too cool for me. I think they're too cool. Wizard spell circle sky indeed. I think that when it comes to superheroes, I think that realistically the answer is that it's a soft magic system. You cannot just compress atoms and become smaller and then punch dudes while tiny. It's not how it works. Now, don't get me wrong. They could come up with another reason, right? They could be pulling kinetic force from somewhere else. They could be, they could be using some kind of planar shift. They can be whatever. However, they use mechanics that are already so well known in another system, or they use, like for instance, like thermodynamics, but they use it in a way that doesn't actually make sense. You know what I mean? So assuming either there's some other force that's preventing all of the terrible things that would happen if you actually did it that way, or they're just like hand wave, suspense of disbelief. Don't worry about it. The point is funny science lingo. You know what I mean? it's not my favoriteest thing in the world once I discover it, but before I discover it, before I realize, before I'm able to poke holes in it, it's like my favorite thing. I mean, Marvel canonically has magic and metamagical now, like on a universal level, indeed. And that's kind of part of the conversation I wanted to talk about. Mention this, but it depends on if you're talking destiny, size, or force. Size changes makes things so hard to nail down in physics. Yes. There is a reason why in Utopia you cannot change sizes, and it was because it just breaks physics too much. It is such an imperceivable translocation and trans size is so difficult to explain on a physics level that it was just nope, we're not even gonna worry about it. In fact, Marvel has magic and science both be unironically fundamental force to the universe. It's weird that science is a fundamental force to me. That idea has kind of sat poorly with me, but for very, very subjective reasons. The problem is what happens if you can manufacture legendary weapons by just man's replicating legendary feats like a dragon slaying factory line. Yeah, you know what? You got me there. One of the interesting things that I try to do, and this might be bad practice, so don't follow in my footsteps necessarily. What I like personally is an extremely hard magic system with lots of limitations, with little pockets of soft magic. There's this concept I've talked about very, very briefly on stream a few times, and it's organized chaos. Right? So it's like if you imagine a bookshelf where every little container is organized perfectly and lined up and neat on that shelf, but inside every container is a jumbled mess of giggly goop, right? You got gobbledygook in each one. You have no idea what's inside it. It's chaotic. But that's part of the fun of it, right? In my opinion, that's the fun of it. Don't get me wrong, the bottom shelf is completely organized and everything inside it's organized. All the containers are organized. You know, the books are lined up really pretty. And maybe the left side of the middle shelf is also organized like that. But you just got these containers of just a mess. You know what I mean? It's a categorized mess. It's all cords and wires. You know what I mean? But it's a mess. It's spaghetti in there. Zuna, would you be willing to DM that to me? But in that same vein, I really like a hard magic system that has these little pockets where it's like, this is soft magic, which means we're not going to explain this. This works in its vacuum. Within its vacuum limitations, you have these outer shell limitations. Everything inside that doesn't matter. Soft magic from there. It is, we don't discover it, and we're not gonna discover it because it's soft from here. It's got a soft, chewy inside. That master produce runes, then change the properties from weapons. There are also so many ways to go through it. Ends up looking like the Pokédex looks at Monster Hunter. Oop. The pair of abstracts that embody magic and science are referred to as the powers that be and the natural order of things.
Due to IRL stuff, I can't DM that to you. Don't have Discord for a while.
Understood.
Could someone else DM the link to LE?
I can absolutely grab that. I can grab it manually. Thank you so much, Yuna. I appreciate you. I will. There might be a little bit of a lag spike. We'll put this here. Ooh. Thank you. Appreciate it. My magic is a Tootsie Pop, hard shell, softcore. Indeed. That is what I mean right there. I guess one of the examples, and this is very, very purposeful terminology here, that if you've known me for a long time, you probably recognize this verbiage here. But the abstracts are kind of that, right? They're unelaborated, they're unexplained. It's room to kind of do stuff. Does it make sense? No. Is it going to make sense? No, it's not. That's the whole point. It's an abstract, right? They are called abstracts for that reason. You know what I mean? I don't do well with abstract information. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not very grounded. And I am also not writing for only me, right? Like when I write, I know that there are people who are going to have opinions and wants and desires and stories outside of what my preference is. So I try to build these spaces where it's like, hey, go have fun there. On a more mechanical level, curses kind of fit there. That's kind of what curses are. Oaths, curses, and things like that. In Utopia specifically, there is a number. There is a damage value. There is a number of talent points that any effect in the universe costs. The whole point of Utopia is modularity, right? But modularity down to calculation, right? Calculable and palpable modular design. However, sometimes when you're a GM or when you're playing a game, you just don't want to balance it. You know what I mean? Like, the balances matter. Sometimes it's about being a cool character and telling a cool story. And curses and oaths were my soft magic injection, right? So specifically, in the next iteration of in the first expansion of Utopia, there's intended to be a thing called Curses, Disease, and Oaths, which is basically GM Fiat Soup. Is pretty much what it is, right? It's a purposefully non-balanced mechanic. It is literally a mechanic that says if there is a curse, if there is mechanically, as far as Utopia sees it, a curse, there is no balance. There's no limitations. There's no necessity. There's nothing. There's no rules on it, right? It is what the GM states is necessary. If you need a curse that makes you fly and immune to physical, all 5 types of damage, cool, that's fine. If you need an object that's cursed with some kind of ability that makes it indestructible, or that it'll explode, or it could blow up the universe, cool, that's fine. That's your system. That's your setting, your system. Curses are specifically designed to say, hey, hand wave as much as you want. We're just not going to explain this. We need a spot where you don't need to explain everything. So it gets more soft magic the further you go up in power. Yes, and that is very much by design. Curses have many advantages of magical items, rarity, power constraints, backstories, etc. Indeed. Curses are a break my game. Indeed. For the people who play Utopia, this might be a surprise. For the people who stick around and stream a lot, it will not be a surprise. But Utopia is intended to be kind of a trilogy, or at least a vertical trilogy. So there's the Utopia Core Guide, which I'll throw a command in chat real quick, just so that people know what I'm talking about when I say this. Utopia is a tabletop RPG. I have... Hold on.
Ori BRB.
There we go. Ori burp. Utopia TTRPG is a tabletop RPG. If you've played D&D, same concept, different setting, different system, different everything. The credits in the middle are a feature. Don't ask about it. They're on purpose. Trust me. And in this game, the core guide is the first book. The second intended expansion, which I work on somewhat regularly, Chat and I have talked about it many a time. There's literally a bingo spot for me talking about the AG1 or the Adventures Guide. That is the second issue in this quote-unquote trilogy, but specifically it is a vertical expansion, which means the amount of power that a character can access fundamentally increases because this book exists. And the third one is called the AG2, as people have only called it, because it's called Among Gods, and they have the same acronym. That was not on purpose. So Among Gods is precisely a vertical expansion that leads into godhood. In the world of tabletop RPGs, it means that you can take a character who is level 10, which is the lowest level this game can reasonably pump out, right? That is a commoner. Level 10 is little baby nothingness, right? AG0. All the way through all of these various issues and enter godhood. And as Dino said, it becomes softer magic the higher up you go. And that's not because I didn't want to explain it, right? That's not because I didn't want people to know what the mechanics are. It's not because I didn't want to come up with the mechanics. It's because when we talk about the abstract forces, these binding, deities of your system and your setting, I should not decide the mechanics of that. I mean, you can say that about anything, right? But as we get to these greater and greater powers, me deciding the mechanics has growing impact on your world, right? If you want to keep it explainable. So purposefully so, as we go up in power, I'm going to make it more and more GM Fiat. Assumingly, if these level 1000, level 2000 characters, they're strong enough, to build and remove planets entirely, chances are you want to explain how they work. You don't want me to explain that, because if I do, the book is creating limitations on what type of deities, what type of gods, what type of avatars you can really have in your world, right? It's the book producing mechanical limitations. For a general system, I don't think that's ever the goal, right? Like, I think that you should have power. You should have say the higher the power goes, even while being able to play this game by the rules. I feel like a Lich should do that with mass-produced curses. Imagine if the greatest power of a Lich is not the immortality power, just being a massive hater. How some of them are expected if not warranted. Immortality can go hand in hand with madness. Yar. Lichdom is an example. I think that's like kind of the base of the power scaling. I think that in AG2, Lichdom is like step one, right? Like that's like the lowest power threshold that the AG2 offers. And very much by design. It's on purpose. It's among gods, right? It starts at level 100. Utopia is a level limitless game, so you can just level forever. How long you will have content for is dependent on what issues you're using. If you're using just the core guide, you'll probably get to about level 150, 200 before you start homogenizing with other characters. In the AG1, you can go for probably 1,000 levels pretty safely, depending on your build, and still have 2 completely independent, unique characters, depending on your playstyle. Similar characters become more and more similar over time with only the AG1. With the AG2, you can go a long time. You can go a long time. You can start blowing up worlds before you start becoming the same character. As an example of match becoming softer as you move up, in Core Guide, you can cast a Fireball. With the Adventurer's Guide, you can cast a Fireball that can burn beings made out of fire themselves. And among gods, you can literally invent the concept of a new type of fire. Yes. Precisely. That is generally it. That is genuinely and honestly kind of the concept behind it. And that's the idea of a hard versus soft magic to me, and what makes it so important. In my personal writing style, I love hard magic. However, I will often not fully elaborate what that hard magic is, right? Like, I'm somebody who doesn't go into the depths in the story, or I try not to go into the depths of what the story is or what the mechanics are unless it's pertinent, right? Or, and this is an example I said in that video as well, or unless I'm trying to give you a power ceiling.
4-digit damage in Among Gods is baby stuff.
It is. It kind of really is. Can you resign something to me for something at some point? I know, see that name is out of date. What? Huh? If you're asking me something, sure, I'm down. I don't know what it is though. Oh goodness, what was I about to say? I completely forgot. Oh, oh my goodness, 0. Not the unimportant certificate. What do you mean? What do you mean? What does this mean, chat? Why do we say these things? I don't like it. I don't like it. Oh, there was totally a topic that just fluttered out of my mind actively.
Do you not remember?
No, I remember. I don't think this sentence is not comprehending in my mind. Can you resign something for me at some point? I know, see that the name is out of date. Oh, I understand. Oh, resign. I understand. I'm sorry. I understand now. I thought you were saying resign as in to quit, and I was like, huh? Yes, I understand. Yes, go ahead and send it to me. We'll talk about it. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. Chat, I'm a silly goober. I've silly goobered today. Sit down, where Yami is now the streamer. Not again. Not again. Please, no, not like this. The way I handle steps up in power is by hard locking certain abilities behind certain ascension factors that are just like so cosmically uncommon that calling them 1 in a billion is a gross understatement. That's actually pretty real. The importance of hyphens. I think that was the correct way to say resign. I think that was technically accurate. I think it's just a homophone or a homonym. Do I make you significantly unimportant again? I don't know how many of you read that document, but I don't think Squint. Power law, indeed. I don't know. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of hard versus soft magic systems in the way that that's what it was. That's what we were talking about. I apologize. I'm so scattered. I love writing in hard magic systems, but softly in hard magic systems, where the magic system is just not explained. It's not that it doesn't exist, it's just that it's not explained. An example of this is giving a power ceiling at the beginning of the story. Now, when we were writing the script for that video, I really thought there would be like a billion examples. I felt like it was so common, and it was so hard to find one. But I'm sure people know what I'm talking about when I say, I hope people know what I'm talking about when I say, you know, a show or a comic or a story that gives you the first scene is like the antagonist in a fight with some other creature, right? Like you have the antagonist of the season or maybe of the entire series literally right there, full bore, you know, just showing off just how powerful they are right then and there. And then you just go into our lowly little protagonist who's just, you know, shopping at a grocery store right now. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be crazy in thinking that that's not something that happens often. But to me, that does a really good job of setting a precedent, right? It sets the precedent of power. Like, this is what you're trying, this is Super Mario movie. Not the example I was expecting, but fair enough, actually. This is the type of precedent that tells you this is the level of power that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Well, this is what we're expecting. You're right about the Super Mario movie too. You are correct about it. It's terrifying.
Oh, that's hacking. That's what Pokemon does.
Oh, does it? I've never actually seen Pokemon. It gives you an idea of what you're going to be up against, and it creates this intentional disparity between our protagonist and the antagonist, right? The antagonist is strong, dude. Like, scary levels of strong. Like, I don't know where all those flashing colors from, but I know that city doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know much about this world, but I know that that's scary. That's all you need to know, right? And the protagonist is bad at everything currently. And that's the growth cycle, you know what I mean? That's the interesting part. We know nothing about the system. However, we've been given a huge piece of data by you telling us what this looks like, what a quote-unquote, for lack of a better term, civilian looks like in comparison to a powerful villain. Based on the standard introduction. That's what I said. I could not find anything, dude. We were like literally trying to find scenes for this. We were trying to find scenes to put in the video for editing. We couldn't find one. I just could not think of an actual title that did that. Multiple Pokemon movies that do that, fair enough. I haven't seen the Pokemon movies. That's what I was thinking. It does such a good thing, in my opinion. Mistborn? Fair enough. I have not read Mistborn. As much as I talk about Sanderson, I have not read it. But I think that it does a really good job of explaining the precipice of a magic system, even without describing a magic system. And part of a big thing for me, something that I struggle with, and something that I try to do, is eloquent exposition. Whether it's a magical creature gets scratches, that itch for me, especially in horror. Ooh, and horror is actually crazy. Actually, no, that would go super hard. Whether it's via literally killing them or patching the universe afterwards to solve the particular cheat code. Gale from BG3. Lord of the Rings movies too. Did Lord of the Rings do that? Oh, it's been so long since I've watched Lord of the Rings, dude. I believe you. I very much believe you. I just don't remember. Oh, what was the part I was just about to talk about? Oh, poopy. Give me just a second, chat. I'm gonna go throw my can away. And think. You were thinking of another Gale? Bakugan does that? I never watched Bakugan. I played Bakugan as a kid, but I never watched Bakugan. I feel like animes, mangas, and comic styles are usually going to be more common in doing it. I feel like I've always felt like anime has a very like distinct storytelling style that differs from like, I guess to say Western media or at least American films, I'll say. From what I've seen, but maybe I'm just crazy, but I've always felt that way. Like, I feel like there's like a level of pattern that you can see in anime that just does not exist in American film. Thank you, London. Yeah, that Water Davian bastard. Bakugan is such a throwback, dude. I miss it. I miss it so much. I miss Bakugan. I would love to play Bakugan right now. Yeah, someone come over and play Bakugan with me. I need it. I need it real bad. Eloquent exposition. That's what I was about to talk about. My goodness. Oh, think for a second. I do not survive without an outline, I've learned. One of the hardest parts about story writing to me, and one of the things that I've struggled with so much is, unsurprisingly, when I was a kid, I would do world building before story writing. And I would write an entire world, and I would build this high concept idea, and then realize that I barely even have a story to tell because I don't even know a character's name. I know the name of the fundamental forces. I could name a fundamental particle or two, but I could not name a person. And that was something that even when I was young, I struggled with so greatly, is figuring out what the story was. Um, and one of the things that I learned when trying to write stories, when I would write this concept, these two people have this relationship. It's a daughter and a father. Father is secretly, big bad evil guy, but wants what's best for his daughter. He goes out, she goes through this entire discovery arc where she figures out who he is, and he sacrifices himself in the last moment so that she could survive, yada yada, and she doesn't learn to appreciate what he was doing for her until everything is already too late, yada yada tragedy. That's cool and all. But let's say that we plop this in this really expansive magic system, you know what I mean? In this high fantasy, Magic the Gathering, except everything is hard magic, you know what I mean? When using magic, it offers a lot of options, but it offers a lot of complexity that makes the story harder to understand, right? Especially if you're using hard magic, right? It could be a lot more difficult for the reader to understand what's going on and to digest all of the complexity that you're going to be throwing out. So I guess part of the question when it comes to, for lack of a better term, optimizing a story, the question is, do you need that? Could you tell that story without magic? You know what I mean? Lord of the Rings does this beautifully. Is Gandalf magic? Yes. Did he have to be magic to tell the story? No. So do you understand the magic super well? No, you don't need to. It doesn't matter. Let's say that it does. Let's say that it does matter, and it's very important how this world fundamentally functions to tell the story. I could sit down and I could just give you, beginning scene roll credits, which is a way of doing it. I mean, Star Wars did it, and Star Wars is very successful, obviously, where I could just give you this giant paragraph of exposition, and you just have to deal with that for like 2 minutes. And then we're starting off on the same foot. Like we're not hiding anything here. We're like, this is exposition. This is going to be important to know. You might get bored. You might fall asleep. Just wake up at the end of 2 minutes. It'll make sense once you're done. But there's also this inferred methodology that you can produce where you can exposit how the world functions through dialogue, through actions, through so on and so on. No, I can't do that because as a pyromancer, if I go in there, I will die. I will simply die if I walk into this quarter of the realm as a pyromancer. I will die on the spot. If a person were to say that, you will recognize immediately that this is a systematic function of the world. This is a way that the world functions. I did not have to exposit that, right? Like, I didn't need to put it in somebody's dialogue as someone just goes into the history of the universe. I didn't have to make this character go into some village elder and say, hey, tell me about the world. You know what I mean? You can pick up these context clues that tells you about how the magic system works, about how the world works, about all of these things. This is really hard. And also can be very confusing to read, I've learned. Like, on paper, it felt like such a perfect, middle ground, but it's really not all the time. Sometimes I really underestimated how impactful just a giant brick of exposition can be. Like, literally just,
why did I read this as which had Hitler solves this somewhat, dash.
Which sometimes it's just like, let's rip off the Band-Aid. You're obviously going to have to learn a lot of things in order to read the story. Here, let's just get this over with. Let's get this out of the way. Like, I see what Star Wars was doing. Or, fun fact, I'm getting all the parts for my new computer. Ooh, that sounds really exciting. Let's go. Employee chart checks. Why TTS? I have the issue with books I'm writing. I mostly have anti-magic protagonists in the way that they get pumped with so much magic they heal from the damage the spell caused. World building. Oh, they heal from the damage the spell causes? Interesting. That's really interesting. Pyromancer dies from walking to a plane of elemental oxygen. Hey, GG Rhubarb, let's go. What do you think about Frarian magic? Where the imagination impacts everything about one's magic? That's okay. Okay. This is another example of soft magic within hard magic. Now, I don't know the Frarian magic system. In fact, I think I'm going to do a quick little search up real quick to make sure that I'm talking in some amount of reason. Blends scientific logic with imagination. Magic is not an innate supernatural power, but a learned science. To cast a spell, a mage must not only possess mana, but also deeply understand the phenomenon, visualize the process, and truly believe in its outcome. That's cool. That's really cool. This to me is kind of that hard, soft blend that I personally love. And this is a little bit more lateral in what I've explained that I do. But it's like you have this hard magic shell. You know what I mean? You have this threshold where it's hard magic. It's deeply understood, it's mechanized. And then below a certain point, it just becomes soft magic. But it's that way intentionally, right? I am such a huge fan of this. In my writing, it's never so global, universal, umbrella level that, you know, that you have this chewy out exterior, soft interior. I'm sorry, crunchy exterior, chewy interior. But the idea of it being that way is still extremely fascinating to me. I love this. The idea that basically you have to learn how to cast spells. You need to learn how to manipulate mana. You need to learn, you know, the various predications of spellcasting, of magic, of utilization of the arcane. But once you past that point, your imagination is the biggest prerequisite to casting. That's insanely cool. Like, there's basically no rules beyond a certain point, but you have to fight and trudge to get to that point where there aren't as many rules, or there are less rules, or the rules are less known. The streamer I'm watching is using subconscious for spellcasting. However, the stronger the spell, the more your subconscious speaks out during it. Ooh, yeah, no, I like that. Crazy, or did the music die like half an hour ago? It did. It's intentional. Sometimes I turn the music on, sometimes I turn it off. It just depends. Say you want to start in the sky, but subconsciously you constantly fear fire. That might summon a fire spirit. Yeah. In my personal interpretations when it comes to that, you guys probably know the difference between body, mind, and soul. It's not a very it's a relatively common trope when it comes to things like this. In Utopia, it is utilized, body, mind, and soul. However, they are very, very mechanically disparate. Dissonant? Predisposition, predicate, I have another idea. Soul specifically is kind of the soft magic side of things, right? Like, the way that mind works is relatively understood. The way that body works is extremely understood. The way that soul works is kind of wavy. And it's that way on purpose, right? Like, your sentimental bond with something will affect how a soul interacts with it. Necromancy is all about souls, and it's knowing that you will never be able to pinpoint a location. It's knowing that you don't get to know hard numbers when it comes to necromancy. That's the art of necromancy in this universe. You don't get to know big numbies. You don't get to calculate things. You just need to understand. You need to grok. You need to intuit. And you need to feel. Proposition, predisposition, premonition, predication. But except Wingstop. There's literally none in a 100-mile radius. Need to grok? Yeah. I don't know. I've heard people use the term grok more and more. I've used it a few times only in this stream. And it's something that I learned a long time ago. But I've noticed that it's, no, not that grok. I forgot. You seen Sympathy and Naming from the Name of the Wind? I have not. Have you seen Sympathy and Naming from Name of the Wind? No, but I'm curious. What is that? Grok, in the meaning that I originally knew it, was grok means to understand something profoundly, intuitively, and completely. It implies grasping a concept so deeply that it becomes part of you and you empathize entirely with what is being observed. I was always a really big fan of that, and I was not talking about the AI bot. I'm talking about the actual term that was written by a writer. I thought it was the writer of Do. No, not the chatbot. Oh, grok is a Martian term. In what story? What story did grok come from? Stranger in the Strange Land. By Robert Heinlein. Okay, that's not what I thought. At least according to very, very quick research. Stranger in Strange Land. I thought it was from Dune. Silly me. Yeah, it's where Musk got the name from the bot. I assumed it's that. I assumed that much, but I'm kind of sad it's used that way. It's a really cool term. Rock, show me Shrek, but no. Stranger is funny, interesting. I think it's very easy for authors to create magic that then inhibits their narrative. The narrative always has to go before any device for the story. I think that's fair to an extent and dependent, right? And there's something
sex cult.
Cool. Sid Marsh and I knew the book. Grok from Hit Planet Ericus. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Where the Jedi live. Happens in the book. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Stephen King style writing. I just liked making a biological counter to magic, but making it so that it's so astronomically impossible for anyone else because they would die before they could take advantage of it. Yeah? No, that's actually really interesting. Killing the guy instantly despite the impenetrable defenses. I do think that narrative over system is very important. However, once you start attaching, multiple stories, one back to back to back, then the system really does matter to have cohesion
Sympathy
within
is a hard
series.
magic system, while naming is a soft magic system, both in the book The Nom of the Wind.
You remind me, I want to talk about sympathetic universes. But that's really interesting. Sympathy is a hard magic system, while naming is a soft magic system. Are we talking about like true names? Is that kind of reference? Is sympathy a name for a system, or are you talking about like literal sympathy? Sympathetic universe was something I learned about while writing this script for this most recent video, and I want to talk about it because it explains so much to me. I think that system gives longevity, right? When it comes to a narrative is basically required for making a single story interesting and investable and cool and fun. It makes it readable, watchable, whatever, what have you. And that is extremely important. However, a system makes it so that the next book in the series, the next movie in the trilogy makes sense, right? It makes this grounded universe for everybody that everyone can inhabit. Welcome to Arrive Natsuno. How's it going? Sympathy is the name of the system. Naming is a very much true name. Understood. There's this concept of not true names, a sympathetic universe that's really interesting, and it is relatively grounded in history, right? So, like with Mesopotamian magics, with old ancient practice magics, like rune carve. I
love
not
the
rune carving,
subconscious affecting magic.
Yeah, but making these tablets with incantations on them, it was so dependent on this idea of a sympathetic universe, which is still a commonly believed thing, and it's a commonly practiced thing. But it's the idea that everything is interconnected in some way. Let me see if I can find a better definition of sympathetic universes to not butcher this too hard. Constraints components bound to reality, at least in concept. Quick research says the concept of a sympathetic universe refers to the idea that all things in the cosmos are deeply interconnected. Rather than a cold, random void, the universe is seen as a living, vibrating web where events and objects communicate and respond to one another through invisible bonds. This reminds me a lot of, and I'm sure at least a number of people are going to know what I'm talking about when I say this, probably better than I do, but this reminds me a lot of cultivation. If you've ever read any lit RPGs about cultivation or cultivation fantasy, the idea that we are intrinsically bonded to the universe in some ways, and that bond is manipulable, right? Like we can utilize that to get some type of effect, especially in magic pretense. In the example that was in the video in Mesopotamia, and I wanted to describe this more, but I'm usually speaking very snappy when it comes to writing a YouTube video. They would make these clay dogs, right? If you got bit by a rabid dog and you had an infectious bite, you would make a clay idol of this dog and you would offer it to the god of fire by putting it on the north wall in the sunlight. And the idea is that in this kind of triangulation, the sun god baking this clay dog would dehydrate the wound and pull the infection out because of the sympathetic bond they have with one another. By symbolizing and creating the symbol of this dog, you can offer it to the god of fire and affect your wound. Similar, in my head, it's very, very similar to how I interpreted voodoo magic when I first ever heard of it.
A powerful spell causes some astral disease to manifest in yourself, taking you over slowly.
I presume that was out of context. Thank you for more hydrate. I appreciate it. Like your fears also manifesting in your spells. You want to cast a powerful spell. Also, since you're a child, you watch your parents succumb to Alzheimer's with witnessing something from space. So the outer space terror causing you to lose yourself has always been deep rooted in yourself. I like that idea. Honestly, I am kind of a huge fan of the idea of subconscious being a big impacting feature of magic, but also magic. Hold on, we got some reasons. I'm gonna say that it is my own systems. It's just 90% utopia, but magic in Eden is essentially hostile to sentient life, and casting spells is innately dangerous. You can tell who the most powerful mages are in the setting because they barely look humanoid anymore, due to either having their body be slowly modified in order to handle magic, or simply because it is the natural side effect of being a spellcaster that it has negative effects on your body and the like. I really like this idea. I am such a big fan of general systems, and it's hilarious because of how much I love non-generic systems, like hyper-specific systems, or even just moderately specific systems. Like you said, you know, the idea that magic is just innately hostile. A magic is not conducive to life. That's such a cool concept to me. God knows why. I have no idea why, but I am such a fan of that. I love eldritch horror-y thingies. I have characters that master their abilities in a variety of ways. Two relatively extreme examples are my two MCs from different stories. One has exceptional intuition for the system she interacts with and is highly adaptable, but has fuck all in terms of the controlling her levels of output. The other has an uncanny ability to absorb whatever they're taught, and they work at functionally maximum efficiency with their energy, but have zero ability to improvise, so their style is very rigid. I have characters, yeah. Eldritch Horror Peak, indeed. There's a really interesting concept, and I wanted to talk about this at some point on stream, but I guess we're here to yap now. There's a problem that I ran into when it came to building Utopia that I did not expect to ever come to. There's a point, in my opinion, where there is simply too much customization. I have preached to so many choirs about this idea that just because you don't get as much number for the cost, right? When it comes to playing a game system, especially where you have to pay 2 units to only get 1, it sounds unfair. However, if you could pay 2 units to get 1 unit of output from 20 billion different options, there is power in versatility. There's power in decision making. There's power in the ability to manifest whatever you need at the time. There's power, there's power in convenience. There's power in all these things.
There's power in the masses.
There comes a point, such as in Utopia, where the raw ability to make decisions and have agency is so powerful that a character with the same skill set as a creature double their level will almost always come out on top because they just have the ability to counter. And what's really interesting to me is that Utopia has turned a lot into a retroactive narrative, which is weird because it kind of hard magicked itself into soft magic in a weird way. Because if you just play Utopia, rules as written, you can be anything. And I mean that in the way of power scaling as well. You become very, very powerful very, very quickly because of your ability to adapt to your environment. You can adapt in such a way that you will...
I prefer my magic medium rare.
Medium rare. You can become so powerful through just pure adaptation that basically nothing your level will ever stand up to you. It's not necessarily difficult. I mean, it takes a little bit of intuition of the system, but it's very, very plausible. And I'm sure a lot of the Utopia players know exactly what I'm talking about, where you basically just have to slowly raise the level of the enemies you fight as a GM because your players get just that strong by covering all their weaknesses. Generally by min-maxing or even, again, just by adapting. And what's weird is that, like you say, they learn magic, you know, they learn how to craft whatever, but they did that through fighting monsters. It's kind of assumed when you take these talents, when you take these new abilities, when you learn these new skills, that something in your adventure happened to your character to make them learn these things, right? But you have to state that retroactively. Oh, I took evocation out of nowhere. Why? Suddenly, I as we have just decided, because my character's been practicing it this entire time. They've been reading the mana sigils. They've been reading runes that they come across, whatever. And it has all led up to them learning evocation in this moment, which just so happens to be convenient for their next fight, for whatever fight they're looking for. It has come in handy for whatever's happening next. And what has happened is that we have these narratively convenient characters, which off the bat sounds like a bad thing, but I'm actually personally really not all that mad about it. Why would a narratively convenient character be a bad thing? because it feels contrived, right? Because it's like, oh, well, of course it happened that way. But on the flip side of that, in my opinion, we follow the story of the lucky people, right? Because those people were interesting. We follow characters that are interesting because they were narratively convenient, or rather, because they were convenient, period. Because they were lucky, because they were existential, because they were extraordinary in some fashion, whether it be through skill or luck or what have you, just pure circumstance, whatever it may be. They were interesting for some reason. So we built these interesting characters backwards when we used the Utopia system, and that was not on purpose. One of my favorite examples of a tabletop RPG that did not use a crunchy system, that used a very, very soft system, not soft as in like soft magic necessarily, but soft as in non-crunchy, right? Like soft rule system was Blades in the Dark, where that was basically the entire mechanic. You would go through difficult tests, or you would do difficult activities by retroactively giving your character some kind of ability that the GM had to agree to, right? So this guard comes up and says, hey, you're not allowed to be in here. And you say, oh, well, my character actually knew this guard in college, and we had woodcarving class together. You know what I mean? And if the GM accepts that, then you can now utilize that to your advantage and change the setting in some fashion. Rules light? Thank you. Yes, rules light. Right. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Which is really cool. And Utopia always kind of, in my head, when I was first designing it, kind of spit in the face of that, right? Like, it's so crunchy. It's so mechanical, but it's turned into this point where it's become so mechanically convenient that that's kind of what happens by nature, is that your character becomes so strong and so powerful in comparison to what the world has become, that these years and years of build-up and experience that this character's had have all accumulated into this one moment retroactively. Because that part of the story just wasn't filled in yet, and now it is. Because your character suddenly has popped out with these abilities. Now, if you were to read that story from beginning to end, it's kind of convenient. Like, it's really lucky that it lined up that way. Obviously, it's lucky because we wrote it backwards. But still, it's cool. It's kind of really cool how that happens. If the players who, actually, you can't do that. The DM, he said you can't do that, who I want to strangle, enjoy the game. A lot of silly goofy. I think it depends. I think there's times to allow and times not to. I think that sometimes it's fun to be limited, in my opinion. Are you reading the Discord? Not currently. Is there somewhere in the Discord I should be reading? I'm terrified if so. Is there something I should be paying attention to? Rutru. Just a second. I apologize. Give me just a second, chat. In order general, just had a conversation about Blades in the Dark. Oh, bet. Okay, that's actually really cool. Blades in the Dark was a really, really cool tabletop RPG experience. I was not expecting to like Blades in the Dark as much as I did, but my goodness, I loved it. There was another system. Oh my goodness. Someone asked me the other day, I think it was like last stream, somebody asked me what tabletop RPG systems I've played, and there's one I completely forgot. But I think it was called like last Tuesday? Oh goodness, what's it called? What's it called? No, it was like no, it's not where you play as yourself. Last Thursday or something like that. Oh my goodness. What is it called? Oh, I wish I could see the cover. It was like oh, I cannot explain it. Oh, the details are so flimsy in my head, dude. It was like the crux of the story. You got to pick through various optional, like various humanoid creatures, such as a zombie, a robot, a human, a whatever, whatever. And it was a very, very rules-like game. And it was called like something last Thursday or last Tuesday. I really cannot remember for the life of me what it was called. But the idea of it was that the crux or the climax of the story all took place last Thursday. Oh my goodness. It was really cool how it handled its mechanics. Like the way that injury and damage worked is you go from an injured state to a super injured state to dead. You know what I mean? And there was actually an opposite side of that spectrum where you could be two. No, it's not Vampire the Masquerade. However, I've heard amazing things about that game. No, it must have been a smaller title. I forget exactly what it was. I want to say that like there was an opposite side of the spectrum where there was injury and it wasn't like overheal or anything like that. I want to say sanity, but I don't think that was it. Where you can like go insane if you undo your damage too much. It was a really, really cool system, dude. I was a big, big fan of it, but my goodness, I cannot remember. I had so much fun with that. There was another game where you play, this is one that my buddy told me about that I never ended up actually trying for myself. But there was one where you play as yourself. Oh, it has a specific name. I think that's the End of the World series? That might be it. That might be it. Where you start the campaign in the room that you're in, playing the game that you are, but your fantasy characters, your in-world characters are yourself, where people vote around the table whose stats look like what. And then something crazy happens. You know, there's a zombie apocalypse. You need to figure out something about it. And you can like know where the hardware store is because you are you. You are playing as you in that moment. You take a screenshot of life as it is, and you turn into that character. I love that game. Dread? That sounds almost familiar. Is that it? I want to play Dread so bad. It sounds so cool. Like, I would play that in any system. Like, just that concept. Like, I've talked about playing D&D with Jenga. What? That's crazy. I love a system where you play as yourself. That is such a cool and unique concept to me. I am such a huge fan of it, dude. I am such a big, 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 big fan of that idea. Utopia isn't nearly as designed for something like this, but I do think that it's possible. I've always wanted to play a play as yourself Utopia campaign. Which is part of where the Revelations, quote unquote, the Revelations games rule set for Utopia has popped in. A game set in Revelations, to be honest. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I love that. I love that. Like the Revelations rule set has been discussed as to be used to play as yourself. Right as I said it, I knew it. Instead of rolling, you pull blocks from a Jenga tower. Oh, interesting. I'm aware the topic's past, but could I send a final message on Eden? Absolutely, go for it. Dude, I want to play a Revelations game so bad. For anyone who doesn't know, a Revelations game in Utopia is where your level is like 10th scalar reduced, like exponentially lower level. So you're usually like, you know, level 8 to level 10. Leveling is basically non-existent because you play in a realistic setting, right? Where you can't do all of the funny magic things. Or if you were to do something magic, it is redescribed to be non-magical. And a single ability costs years and years and years of experience. It basically pulls the convenience out and sticks you in a real setting. And I want to do it so bad. Mechanically, this just means whenever you cast a spell, you have a chance to be mutated. This is referencing back at the Eden setting. That is just mostly due to narrowing it down to be a playable system, which due to its nature, PCs have some innate resistance, so it's fine. However, thematically, perhaps the greatest example of this is the Doom. When magic first became corrupted like this, people had yet to recognize the danger or adapt to a new situation. One of the greatest mages of that age attempted to cast a spell that ended up XXX. The end result being an amount of devastation, hence unseen, but can only be described as world-shaping. The event is also the source of most of the mana wells that exist now, as the aftermath ended up leaving the world veins exposed to the earth. Ooh, that's really interesting. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I have a little bit of a tangent to go on. I don't know how your story really brought me to this point. This is really cool. I'm very interested in this. I don't know how this brought me here, but I have a little bit of a tangent. We've technically played a Rev game, Ori. Squint? I have the idea is 10 trait points in Revelations, and my own system is 1 point Utopia. The latter might have be COC, like D100 or something like that. In Revelations, the way that it works is that the amount of XP you need to level up is squared or cubed or something along those lines per level. So if I were to whip out a calculator real quick. So let's say that, unsurprisingly, from level 0 to level 1, or at level 1, you need 100 XP to level up. So that's fine. 100 XP to get to level 2. But then, I'm sorry, I lied. Level 1 to level 0 is, let's say, 10,000 XP. So you can see how insanely fast this is already getting out of hand. So from level 2 to level 3, you need 200 XP normally, which in this case is now 40,000 XP. This is going up very, very fast. This is probably too fast of a progression, but you get the point. Another example might be, whoops, wrong one. Doubling it. So first you need 200, then 400, then so on and so on. All are examples of how the progression would go. But suddenly 1,000,000 XP, which would normally make you like level 250 character, is like 10,000 minus 40,000 minus 90,000. We've 250,000 XP, which I think would make you level 100 in this ridiculously scaling system that I just explained, would make you like level 3, which is not realistic, but you get the idea that it just scales way out of proportion. So like a level 100 character is like level like 12, but a level 200 character is like level 13. Okay, that's a Rev game. I mean, we were in college or further. I don't know if that would count that. Well, I don't know if I remember which one you're talking about. I mean, for skill checks. Oh, that makes sense. No, that makes sense. How's it going? Utopia is very voluntary in how it handles skill checks. People don't talk about it a lot. How once you get to a point in Utopia, your subtraits become so large that rolling basically doesn't matter. That was intended. That was always supposed to be that way. There comes a point when you have a 22 in a skill. It means you get a plus 18, which means that the max roll is equal to or lower. Your roll will always be equal to or lower than what your bonus is. So at best, you're getting double. At worst, you're getting virtually nothing. And your modifier is doing all of the work, right? That was by design. There comes a point where you become so supernaturally good at something that circumstance rarely impacts you anymore. Oh, Dino, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about now. No, I would not consider that a Rev game. You were close. You were very close, but I would not personally consider that a Rev game. Also, Rev games would be so much worse. Would be so much worse. It would be so much grindier and harder and terrible. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one's a whole thing. That one's a whole thing. Yeah, I'll let Rain describe that one. Rain can go into the details of that one if he wants to. It's gobbledygook. It's a little bit of gobbledygook, but perhaps even in a good way. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is that in the conversation of these plot convenient characters, right? With these narratively convenient characters that we build backwards, I'm very interested in this expansion that I've talked about a few times, but it's basically the slice of life expansion, right? Where you get stats and bonuses and can spend your talent points on equivocally being an NPC, right? You can spend points to be good at cooking, which does not help you in combat. It will not help you adventure at all. But that's the idea, is that your DR can go up without actually gaining combat or even social experience, because you are becoming intrinsically really good at one very specific profession that helps a city stay together, and not necessarily something that makes you the most powerful archmage in existence. And what the reason why this matters to me, the reason why this is so important to me, and what makes this so interesting to me, is when you have both, right? When you have a slice of life setting that uses the same mechanics and the same story and the same world building as one that does true adventuring with superpowered god level characters. What is Does it feel more grounded that some people are adventurers that turn into gods, and some people are just denizens of a town that just run a blacksmith shop, that just run a bakery? You know what I mean? Does the population make more sense? Does it feel less convenient once you start seeing people actually move from one scale to another? That slice of life expansion is gonna fuck me up, man. I will be remaking all of my characters with shit from that. Dude, I feel that so hard. Like, okay, as an example, I've jotted some of these down, right? Like, I've actually considered a lot of these. But they're being like talents that simply make you better at farming. They only make you better at farming, that make you better at cooking, that allow you to add more ingredients to a single recipe, that allow you to treat ingredients as if they are higher quality, and so on, etc., etc. These will not help you in adventuring. If you send a chef out into a ring, they will die, because all of their points, all of their time is dedicated to cooking food, which does not help you in a fight. I mean, the end product might, but the point is that they're not going to have, you know, combat prowess, for instance. However, you can also make a chef knight that is actually genuinely a good warrior, because they are intrinsically split between half warrior, half cooking, right? And these characters begin to make sense, you know what I mean? What can you dedicate your time to? To me, personally, it's really Delicious Dungeon. Yes, precisely. There's a really interesting conversation to be had, where XP is not about how intrinsically powerful you are, it's what you've dedicated your time to. A level 10 is not the same as every other level 10, and level 100 is not the same as every other level 100. It means that you have 100 levels of experience to spend on things, and those things do not intrinsically make you more powerful. It just makes you more experienced. Do you use that experience on combat? Do you use it on socials? Do you use it on a profession? That concept is so weird and foreign to me, and it was such an organic progression in working on Utopia and the various things that it comes with, and its general philosophy, that it is produced this weird world where you can be a blacksmith, and suddenly these super convenient characters make sense why not everybody's level, you know, a billion, going out into dungeons and doing whatever. Level 200 God of Artifice versus level 200 Galaxy class window cleaner. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you garner experience from this is not going to kill you methods. You know what I mean? You don't go out and risk your life every day. It makes sense that there isn't, a bunch of level 200 adventures out in the world. I mean, it seems like, in like playing something like the West March, it seems very common that there's just a bunch of like level 200 adventures doing things like that, what have you. It feels like they'd just be everywhere, but I see why they're not after working through these types of rule sets, because it's cool, it's interesting, and it's livable to just be a blacksmith, to just be a baker. And also, these bakers and these blacksmiths don't die normally. Adventurers go out and they drop like flies because they're going out and fighting dragons and their GM TPK'd them, and liches don't back down very easily. I mean, don't get me wrong, as a GM, I'm usually trying not to kill my party, but it's not uncommon that they just, up
Looking
and die.
At the level 40 fairy whose only trait is having 55 portrayal.
Also, wouldn't it be so cool to have a slice of life thing so you can play a campaign
with a wave of my hand? Okay, buddy. I can clean a skyscraper in 2 minutes with one squeaky, 10 fluid ounces of clean water, and a plunger.
That's pretty impressive though, right? Like that is genuinely impressive. Kill me. But like, wouldn't it be so cool to play a campaign where you're this big adventurer and you like take on the drag, you save the city, and then you retire and you play your retirement? I was talking about, we were having a conversation about playing a campaign where you have to do like the high school like magical girl dilemma, like the Spider-Man dilemma, where you have like adventuring on the weekends, but you also have like a shop to run. And I've always been super interested in that type of slice of life style campaign, slice of life, quote unquote, where you still go adventuring, but you also have like life duties to tend to, right? Your life isn't just dedicated to adventuring. You didn't just skip town and go out and become an adventurer. You have duties at home. You have a life to live. You have people that you care about, that you talk to every day. You have a market that you attend on Saturdays. You know what I mean? That concept is so interesting and so grounding to me. I don't know how I haven't heard of this. This just seems so fun. Sideways, I'd kill for a Magical Girl campaign. Wait, I mean, honestly, Rune Factory? I don't think I've heard of Rune Factory, but it sounds like something that sounds really fun. The capabilities of individuals so much higher, it makes sense to me for a population to be much smaller than in reality. Like 20 people could run a city potentially. I mean, they could. I think truthfully, it would just be inconvenient. Could they? Yes. Would they? Probably not. I mean, just because you're level 200 doesn't mean that it's fun to do all the work. You know what I mean? You can do a lot more work in less time, but you're still expending resource. You know, in my head, the way that I see it, if we were to take it mechanically, if there is an effect in Utopia that costs stamina, people do not use it in their day-to-day lives. You don't sprint. How often in your life, outside of sport, outside of hobby, outside of whatever, do you sprint? Do you expend yourself in such a way that you might run out of breath? I don't think that anybody is sitting here just like expending stamina regularly because they could, because it would make the infrastructure better, what have you, unless they need to. You need to be pushed into a corner to start expending effort at that level. I would imagine. That would be my expectation. Atelier games? Did I say that right? Shared custody between slice of life and adventuring? That's what I'm talking about, dude. I love the idea behind that. I love the idea of having something where you're not just an adventurer. You are more than an adventurer. My adventurer is up here. My adventuring is up here. I think we're getting kind of close to MHP. Unsurprisingly, as many of you guys may know, this is probably going to be an earlier ending stream. It might end pretty darn early, which MIDI yaps do. I think it is as short as 3 hours. Building a changeling that is hired to pretend to be someone's civilian identity and is fully dedicated to various life skills, while the original who does adventure stuff? Stop. I love these premises so much, dude. I love these premises so much. Okay, chat, I have something to admit. I have had like a blind fury work on a stupid project that I don't need to work on. I'm not going to explain it right now, but just know that you guys might get little drops of stupid project ideas in the near future. Dude, like, I can make enough explosives to level a continent in a couple hours if I want, but that's also like boring. I'd rather bake a really good fucking bomb-ass cake, and then the cake explodes. Chat, no, hold on. I really want your opinions on this. I want your opinions on this. You know I like the number 6, right? We know that I love the number 6. I'm super addicted to number 6. We know. What are 6 professions? Give me 6 professions that have nothing to do with adventuring that you would play in a TTRPG. Pay me 50 bucks and I can go take a test for you as you go fight goblins or whatnot. 3, 6, 9. Yeah, you know. Yeah, the tertiaries, anything in proximity to 3, I think is usually good. Gus makes the Atelier games where being an alchemist is the protagonist job and the adventuring for ingredients is the side gig. Yes, I love that. Yes, that. Traveling merchant, I kind of love that. Librarian, zookeeper. Wait, that's actually real. That's actually super real. Chat, I want profession Utopia mechanics help. Florist? Wait, that's so cute. I love florist.
Carpenter.
Teacher.
Cook. Tailor. Toolsmith. Shopkeep. Librarian.
No, I love it. Stop. No, wait, I love this. Cease. No, shit. Okay. Chat, this is super early. And again, it's probably going to be an early stream, but I think we are going to go ahead and do
mining,
mental health break.
Fishing. Cooking. Bartering. Collecting. Learning.
That's really cool, dude.
Merchant, farmer, bard, dancer/ballerina, miner, woodworker, or blacksmith.
Why are you guys so good at this? Stop it. Chat, we're going to do a quick little mental health break. So if you've never been here before, this is mental health break. Make sure to go grab a drink of water, go grab a snack, go brush your teeth, go do your homework, whatever you have to do to be healthy. We're going to be on the Just Chatting screen for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'm going to get back into the game. I know you guys can't see me through the words on stream. During mental health break, I'll usually be right back. I'm gonna be gone for maybe 10 minutes at most, and then I'm gonna come back. We'll continue our yapping session. Normally I'd say we'll get back into the game, but no game right now. So for right now, I'm just gonna throw this on screen, let you guys play for a little bit. I will be gone for about 10 minutes, and we'll join back into the conversation. I'm super invested in this conversation. I also want to talk about what the next video idea is, because it is something that we have talked about before on stream, if you've been on the Twitch stream specifically. Not eat, but instead Infotank and PDF. But I'm also like so deeply invested in the whole like slice of life idea. So we have 2 big topics I would really like to talk about: arts and entertainment, business, construction, education, transportation. Oh, okay. I'm so normal, chat. I'm so normal. Don't even mind me. I'm so intrigued. Anyways, I'll get back into it. I'll be right back, you guys. Enjoy yourselves for a little bit. You can play this in Twitch chat, by the way. I don't know if this works on YouTube, actually. I have no idea if this works on YouTube. It does definitely work in Twitch chat. If you don't know, we are live on Twitch under Oridon't. You can play words on stream on Twitch. I don't know if YouTube works. You guys will have to test that for me. I will be back. I love you guys.
Cool.
You got me shaking, yeah, I feel the fever coming on. Boy, you know you're all I want. Keep saying that I hate it, but it's kind of fun. Watching me come undone. No more games. Can't we just say its name? Instead of running away and jumping the gun to play it safe. Let's spend the weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow.
Tank. Thanks.
Tried to shake it, find a way to get you off my mind.
Hats.
Really tried to draw that line. One look from you, I'm praying I could call you mine. Baby, you got my hands tied. No more games. Can't we just say its name? Instead of running away and
Shan't.
jumping the gun to play it safe. Let's spend the weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow.
Teeth.
feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow.
Teen. Needy.
I tried to shake it, find a way to get you off my mind. Really tried to draw that line. One look from you, I'm praying I could call you mine. Baby, you got my hands tied. No more games. Can't we just say its name instead of running away and jumping the gun to play it safe? Oh, it's been a weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow.
Died. Tend.
It's been a weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow. Weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow.
Shero. Raps. Parse.
You got me shaking, yeah, I feel the fever coming on. Oh, you know you're all I want. Keep saying that I hate it, but it's kind of fun. Watching me go undone. No more games. Can't we just say its name instead of running away and jumping the gun to play it safe? Let's spend the weekend here in this
Haps.
bed we can sleep in and let the feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow. I tried to shake it, find a way to get you off my mind. Really tried to draw that line. One look from you, I'm praying I could call you mine. Baby, you got my hands tied. No more games. Can't we just say its name instead of running away and jumping the gun to play it safe? Oh, it's been a weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the
Host.
feelings overflow. Useless trying to
Tits.
fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow.
Shot.
Let's spend the weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the feelings overflow. Useless trying to
Heist.
this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow.
Hi, chat.
You got me shaking, yeah, I feel the fever come. Boy, you know you're all I want. Keep saying that I hate it, but it's kind of fun. Watching me come undone. No more
Well, good game.
can't we just
Hey, what's going on?
say it's me?
Sag. Do you guys want another one? Oh, it's chair stream. Okay.
Ope by Ori.
It's been a weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight this. Let's just give in and let the feelings overflow. I tried to shake it, find a way to get you off my mind. Really tried to draw that line. One look from you, I'm praying I could call you mine. Babe, you got my hands tied. No more games. Can't we just say its name instead of running away and jumping the gun to play it safe? Oh, it's been a weekend here in this bed we can sleep in and let the feelings
Hello.
overflow.
Oh, okay.
Useless trying to
Well,
fight this.
yep, no more yap. All done. Forever. Game over. Mailman, mutagen farmer, blacksmith, pearl diver, city planner, MagiNet hacker. That's cool as hell, dude. What the hell? You guys have given me ideas that I should not have. That is the answer to today. Today is that I have more ideas that I know what to do with. Hi, Dino.
It's been a weekend here in this bed we can sleep
Welcome back.
in and let the
Thank you.
feelings overflow. Useless trying to fight
Welcome back again. Thank you very much. Yes, much appreciated for the welcome back again. Okay. So, conversation to have is one of them was about the video for the next video that's coming up. Oh, Piper. For anyone who hasn't seen her before, this is my dog. Her name is Piper. She's a corgi, and she hates being up here. She usually gets used to it after a little bit, but she usually is very excited to get down. Yep. I used to have a Piper cam so that I didn't have to bring her up here every time. But it's kind of hard to sustain Piper cam. I love that shirt. I want to wear it. Bonus points if I get to take it off. I know. Much appreciated. I do like the shirt a lot. This shirt was tucked away for a long time. Wait, idea? Oh, that's terrifying. So, two things to talk about today. Two things I want to talk about. No Ori, more Piper. Ah. Come on, Pep. Come here, Pep. Up, up. Up, up. Oh, goodness. Oh, I'm so sorry, Piper. I totally cockblocked you there. My bad. Okay, there it is. She seems a lot comfier this time around. Phones, though. More about Slice of Life. I am very interested in the Slice of Life. Especially, and this is definitely getting like, this is going like back a topic for like the video prior, but I'm so interested in it. In like day-to-day life where like magic is involved, right? Where you have like some kind of magic system. What does day-to-day life look like? But also the other one was what the next video is planned to be about. So I have not written the script yet, but I have begun to write an outline for the next video that's coming up, and I want your guys' opinions on it because now's the time to shape what's going to happen next. I don't know how interested everybody is in that, but if you are interested, and it's the conversation that we had on Twitch some time ago, and it's what would happen if you met your character IRL. How would your character react to you, knowing that you are you, aka their writer, their author? How would they interact with you? This is especially interesting in the conversation of Slice of Life. Like, can you imagine that you made a baker that wasn't traumatized? That was just a normal person that just lived a normal life, and you're like, and then you meet them and they're like, oh, hey, cool. Like, nothing about it. Like, that's it. That's all. Neat. I could never. I don't know. I'm exceptionally interested in the idea. So the conversation. Let me see if I can pull up my outline so far that I have so far at least. Um. do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Let's say you were transported to another world, stark white, nothing to do, nowhere to go but a single door. And when you open that door, in front of you stands your character, your original character, a tabletop RPG protagonist, somebody you designed from backstory to modern adventures, your little traumatized soul. The question I have for you is simple. Assuming that character you made is healthy, equipped, and just as confused as you are you walking out of that room alive? This question goes so much deeper than it seems on the surface. It may not be an objective answer, but we're going to jump into something really interesting, into some really interesting conversations. You can spin the question a lot of different ways. And let me say, there are thoughts I never would have even imagined if it weren't for this one question. So that's kind of the thesis behind the next video coming up. What if our characters knew what we put them through? And again, the conversation is they know that you made them, that you wrote their story, that you wrote their backstory, that you played as them even. And one of my favorite conversations to have about this is what would happen if it happened vice versa. What would you do in a situation where you interacted with your quote unquote creator? My character would be upset and I created them. No one will walk out alive. Oop. Depends on the character. Sometimes also depends on what point of their life I meet them at. There's from, oh, cool, this is kind of boring though, to, pulls out knife. I don't generally give my character trauma, so I think I'm fine. And that's fair. This is the really interesting part of this conversation. I realize that a lot of people are quite a bit different in not making traumatized characters. They make characters that live normal lives, maybe go adventuring and have exciting tales to tell. There's the story of, I'm sure all the Tadsy fans are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. If you've ever heard of that, I think that is a very strong indication of a creator's relationship with the created per se. I think that's one of the attack points that I plan on using. One of the examples that I plan on using. I have written down the hero's journey writing style and what a story is by nature, what function that serves, and how a character may interact with that, right? Whether they care about that or what their thoughts are going to be on that. The idea that, simply put, there needs to be a conflict for a story to be interesting, and this is a character that was put through that conflict. I still never got the chance to answer the question. Well, I mean, if there's ever a time. In a world where our RP character or an OC that we absolutely decimated the backstory for him, what would they say to us? Would we leave that room alive? These characters can get pretty grisly and not very remorseful. Would our disappearance even weigh on their conscience? And this is a really hard video to talk about. I can think of one manga where that literally happens. Ooh, that's interesting. This is a conversation.
Plushie, I have yet to see the Zero Trauma XD.
This is the conversation that gets really difficult to put in just a video because there's so many avenues this can go down. Obviously, every character is different. However, what I think we can do is pull out the various ways that we can think about this, right? We can come up with a ton of different methods to go about attacking this question. Character dependent, Dark Elixir already knows. Just hope that this is time with Lily changed him for the better. Jeremy, I'd hate having him around, but I want to believe I could handle him so long as I don't mention his backstory to others. Wittershins be very angry. I didn't even bother making her a backstory. Continuing next message. Okay, cool. This question applied to my most traumatized character at their lowest or when they're going through his arc. I think the answer is probably for the sake of simplicity, I think it would be most modern. Like what? The most modern interpretation of them or whatever is most recent. Like all four of my West March characters have no trauma for their backstories. And this is like the super interesting thing. Like what would be the conversation if we included these slice of life characters? You know what I mean? Like if you have these characters that are just bakers, that are just teachers, that are just blacksmiths, what are they like? What's it like for them? I'm fine. How would they feel about this? A similar answer, at least not killing me. Interesting. That's so interesting. The variance in answers for this is wild. Hi, Rain. Welcome to here. All my characters get happy life eventually. Even people like Calico, who have more mental illness than Fingers. Well, he would probably
am
sit and
arrived.
just task me with how through all of his life, and I don't think I can answer it fully. That's a really good question. What would the character ask? You know what I mean? Before even getting into any form of violence, what would the character ask you? What would they want to know? Knowing that you made them, that you wrote their story, or at least partook in part of their fate, what would they want to know from you? Would your answer change your fate in being stuck in this room with them? And so the slice of life characters now have trauma? Oh, okay. Well, we're boned. And now they have trauma from meeting you. I am a baker, I make cherry pies, and I met God once. I would love that as a story. You're aware of most of my characters. Name one, and I can try to give a more in-depth answer. I'm
Let's
trying to think.
traumatize everybody.
I guess the first one that comes to mind is Atlas. I thought it was going to be one of my zero trauma duders. Then Pius happened. Oops. Hate when that happens. So now my zero trauma duder is Coral. Don't let Coral touch a campaign. It never ends well. We'll fucking keep it that way. Thoughts on idea? What about Piper from the box? It's Rain, where I didn't have to pick up and show and stream. No, we're not putting Rain in the box. Are we? No, no, we're not. We're not doing that. I would probably make fun of me and leave. Puppet would ask me more information
Coral
and keep
is
asking until I
gonna be
leave.
my playable character for season 2 of Branch.
Aw, Coral's fucked. Coral's so boned. Put Rain in the box! I'd be like, huh, cool, you made me, I guess. In a few minutes, Dirk would also know everything I planned out for the Evelian trio. Shade would want to ask what my answer is for all the duders wasted for the... And then same as Dark. Interesting. Little, what's up, Ross? How's it going? I think my answer would change reaction, but I wouldn't mind letting him read me out. I do think that the power level is very interesting, right? Like how many of your characters, out of curiosity...
Pasquire and Cerise is going to keep her out of the way of everything.
For the
and she will
character...
be fine.
For the people who say that they're going to get murderlated, that they're going to get absolutely wrung out by their character, would your character have remorse, right? Regardless of what the outcome is, if your character did do something bad to you, would they feel bad about it? We make a lot of characters, and I think that this is like the thing that bothers me about how popular D&D is in a narrative sense as a storytelling device. This is one of the ways that I say that the system that you use depicts what kind of story you're going to tell, right? Not that there are stories you can't tell in D&D, or not to say that it's impossible or anything like that, but that is to say that it will incentivize a certain type of story. D&D is a war game. D&D is a war game. It came from war games. It stayed a war game, right? It's about killing things. The game grants XP, incentivizes, and expects that you are going to murder people. And in that way, I feel like it produces characters that become desensitized to death, right? Not to say that characters wouldn't be desensitized to death, but they don't have to be, right? It's so hard to play a lawful good character in D&D, in my opinion. At least if you want to grow powerful over time. To grow powerful comes to be violent in D&D. And that's one thing that bothers me a lot, personally. But it makes me beg the question, what is a D&D character going to feel when it comes to a guilty conscience, right? When it comes to murdering somebody, how many D&D characters is that all that bad for? It feels like the world they live in. You know what I mean? Like, where murder is just kind of common. Also, especially true when you have things like resurrection. You know what I mean? When you have true resurrection, where being able to bring someone back to life is just kind of a thing that happens sometimes. Even if it's not plausible in the circumstance where you are potentially getting murderlated by the character you made, that might change the way that they see it, right? The way that they've seen murder up to this point just is ultimately lower, and maybe they didn't go so far as to consider that resurrection might not be possible in this case, because it's just been a fundamental truth their entire life. I'm just throwing things at the wall, but these are all things that pop into my head. If I meant like freshly post-breakout Calico, she'd put me on ice without a second thought, because how dare I put her through that much for that long? Mirage from Pius would just be like, oh, cool. Mirage from BR, on the other hand, would use me as a target practice. Yeah. Alice is a lot like Tosca. in that they are just a jolly person who likes to fight and wouldn't really do anything against me. More specifically to Atlas, considering the fact it was only one session and they didn't have any trauma, I think he would mostly be confused on what is going on, but eventually ask for spoilers, change his mind, and part ways. That's actually kind of real, dude. It's actually super real. Lance wouldn't have remorse for, well, they ain't like that, because, well, I ain't like that. All right, fair enough. I would know exactly how he'd try to kill me if he wanted to, and I'd likely be able to say something that'd make him freeze or hesitate. I would ask him what he wants me to do, a request to give to fate, and promise that he will get through it no matter what he sees. My character likely will not have remorse. They would settle for there being no god having control over them and just want to live a happy, normal life. My most likely to kill me would be Jeremy, so likely if we were to meet face to face and he knows I'm his creator, my safest bet is to immediately tell him I could give you a happy ending, but only I can give it to you, and hopefully his sub-redness wouldn't immediately kill me. If he did, maybe remorse is remorse if he heard me, not otherwise. That's actually so weird and actually so messed up. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? You go to meet this character, you know you're about to meet this character, and you write this character in such a way that without you, their life is terrible, and with you, their life is mediocre but better, or that their ending is happy. I mean, this is the type of ability that you only have once before entering the room. Yeah, no, the timer indeed. Do you wanna pelt Ashton for me? Do you want to berate Ashton for me? Ashton, tell me the thought process. What dawned on you? I want to know what changed, like what happened, what was the idea behind this? Someone explain this to me. Ashton, why? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? A post-breakout pre-settled calico. That girl would cut me into ribbons. That's so real. Arple! Chat. I love you. Thank you so much for the purple Betty.
Ray Nice Falling just shared 100 bits.
For the non-Twitch
Purple
users, bits are a type of donation, and whenever someone donates bits, I put little rocks in jars. I have a bunch of jars right here that for all the biddies that we've done throughout the year. Lots of fun. What was I saying? Oh, you can write them into a corner, like quite literally, right? You can write it in such a way, and then you can go in and tell them, be like, hey, this is blackmail. If you kill me, your life will become substantially worse because it's already been predetermined that way. But also on top of that, they could threaten you. You know, your character could threaten you and say, you better give me a happy ending, otherwise you're not leaving here alive. But the truth is that they don't hold that power to enforce that, right? Because once you leave that room, they can't do anything. You can write them whatever way you want. In fact, if you felt spiteful about it, you could just make it worse for them. You can lie. And there will be no way for them to enforce that idea. It's a really messed up relationship, honestly. Craig did it, and I looked at money and went, sure, fucking why not? But not now, so made others pick win. My goodness, Ashton. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe you. Chat, when you give money, do it in less than 4 digits, for the love of God. Holy Jesus Christ, guys. Why? Happy Pride. Why? My least likely murder is Cognac, because all I did from his perspective was make his life comfortable, but kind of boring. Fair enough. Puppet might kill me if I didn't make him generally against murder. Fair enough. 5 digits less than 4, right? Don't. No, please. Not like this. Guys. No, stop with the 5 digits. Do not. I swear, dude. I don't know. No. Funny thing is that I already thought of it for my first ever OC. Canonically, he hates me. Nice. Less than 4 digits. Sorry, babe. An integer overflow into a 5-digit number. Okay, there's a conversation that is really interesting that I can't super really talk about. But the emotions go super deep.
Arrow maybe 6 to 7 digits.
Since I got a new computer, here's all the rest of my bank account. No, guys, gives 2 cents. Here's my 2 cents. Empties bank account. Fire, immediate fiber. Immediate fire. Indigo wouldn't murder me, but will hold me hostage until I answer all of her questions. No, that's actually pretty real. That's actually super real. There was a question that I was asked about Orion, and I don't know how to answer that question. That question goes so deep. I really don't know what the answer to that is. Anyways, and regardless, one of the ways that I like to frame this question is what would happen in reverse, right? What would you do?
At Moonboy Targonian, yes, makes me assume she'd have all the power possible, so stronger than him. Sis, that your final answer?
Which question, Ashton? Which question are we talking about? Oh, yes, Ashton, it was the one that you asked. Yes, indeed. It was that one. What would happen in reverse? How would you act, chat? For everyone who's watching right now, what would you do if you were stuck in a room and someone said, or you don't read YouTube chat? Oh, I'm here. Hello. There's one character who might be too insane to even realize they killed me. I realized that YouTube was not popping up in my chat feed. I really apologize about that, YouTube. I think one of my manga really happens. The economy is just how people resolve scarcity, and when scarcity can be artificially resolved, I think it's an intriguing concept. There's something that's really interesting to me about flipping the script. What would happen if you were stuck in a room?
Philosophical conversation with my character.
What would happen if someone stuck you in a room and you had the utter and complete ability to annihilate this person? You can do whatever you want to them. You are substantially more powerful than this person in this state and only while in this room. Once you leave this room, once you guys agree to part ways, or once you've killed them, you will have no more control over it. You don't know what's going to happen. But in this moment, you have utter control over their fate. This is the one time that you can control what happens to them. And they say, I wrote you. I made everything that is you. I wrote everything surrounding you. I am the reason you are what you are today, and I have an ending in mind. What would you do? What would your writer
At Moonboy
look
Targonian
like?
too powerful for him. His backstory literally has him be traumatized by people more powerful than him, literally his entire family, so it's a no.
My answer has not changed. I will ask why they wrote me. My story is boring. I feel the fuck out of that. It makes me wonder, like even if there's something really intriguing to me about the amount of dead space that is in life that we don't talk about, right? I would ask how best to achieve my goals. I'm pretty okay with the life they built for me and how they're going about it. Then run with the advice and try to forget about the rest. Honestly, I think that's something that's really interesting to me, is that like we have traumatic experience. We as people experience plenty of traumas, plenty of terrible things. We go through a lot of hardships. And some of them are really, really brutal. Some of them are not as brutal. Some of them are, quote unquote, as people have self-proclaimed, boring. In the worlds that we write our characters, how bad is their traumas relative to the world that they live in? Is what they're going through less than or similar to what we're going through relative to what their world looks like? Is murder desensitized because that's just the power scaling of the universe that they live in? So that's just kind of life to them. Is the great pains and agonies that they've gone through kind of normalized to some extent because it's just how it is? And how many hours of their life do they spend not thinking about their trauma? Because we don't write the unfun parts. How many characters would walk up to you and say, why did you write me so boring? When you thought that you absolutely broke them. I mean, technically the answer is you wrote them, so you can kind of decide the answer. But
you're a slice of life character, Ashton.
But it begs the question, I guess, in my head sometimes, like even to people who have been heavily traumatized, who have been through terrible things. First of all, sometimes we don't know, and sometimes we over exaggerate, and sometimes we have this relativity on what we think is good and bad, and so on and so on. To each their own, of course.
One of my characters is quite literally a perpetually living corpse, so I think he'd try to murder me.
How many times, I'm not saying it's every time, and I'm not even saying it's common. I'm genuinely asking, how often would a character think that their life isn't really as exciting as we think it is? Because their life is only exciting in relative to our perspective. That's relatively not really all that bad off. My character is much worse off than me. I get easy mode. My character has trauma embedded physically into their being. That's hot. I'd accept being a background character to help them more traumatized, interesting people. You like being a background character so you can traumatize people? That's neat. That's a cool aspect. I like that. Ori, don't read YouTube chat. I missed that joke until now. I don't know. I'm really struggling to figure out how exactly I'm going to format the script, because normally I would like to have, some kind of conclusion at the end. I don't think this one's gonna have one. Given I also kind of miss the conclusion a lot of times. I feel like there's a lot of videos that I've written that just kind of have like as my new favorite term, gobbledygook at the end. And it doesn't like to be fair, I ask a lot of nebulous questions that don't have necessarily direct answers a lot of the time. So it can be kind of hard, but regardless, you get the point. Requirement to becoming his girlfriend unironically is a fight almost to the death. If she's stronger, then it's not from him. If she is stronger but hinders her own power, eventually he'd learn the truth and rightfully feel betrayed. What? Nebulous, you say? Yes. Not nebulas. Nebulous. I wonder why the heck I completely get sidelined for the first 18 chapters. Like, I believe the idea I'm a background character. Oh, interesting. Well, I feel like, okay, this is a really big conversation. We can jump a little bit off the deep end for a second. But when it comes to background characters, right? That's a relative perspective. It's about scope, right? You can pin a scope on any character. How interesting the story is up to you. But a background character, if you see yourself as a background character, that is not in reference to your story. That's in reference to your perspective. You are on the background of a scope that you put down, right? You put the scope down in such a way where you are a background character because you can focus on whatever you want. That's the nature of Sonder, right? You can follow another person. You can follow yourself. You can go through your eyes or somebody else's or what have you, what have you. The story that you write is up to you. If you are a background character in your story, that says something about you, in my opinion. I'm not a therapist. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a therapist, but that's what that reads to me, right? Like you decide where the perspective of your story is. You decide where the scope is. Something compass. I don't know. Lalos. Definitely the main character in my backstory. Not a cool one, but I am. And that's the question, right?
Moonboy Targonian, no. He would not date weaklings.
That's kind of the question, in my opinion. In my backstory, I am me. Real as heck. What are you in your story? What role do you fill in your life narrative? In my story, no. But if I meet my author, I'm a background character, someone with a more interesting person. Interesting. Sidekick. I'm Nebula. Fair enough, Nebula. I don't know. I find this wildly interesting. I didn't expect it to be super introspective, but it reads very introspectively to me. I'm the token protagonist who's like cool but gets fucked about the supporting cast. In my head, personal answer, this is just a third-person story. Like, I'm in an anthology series in my head. That's how I would see it. Like, I'm like one story out of a handful. You know what I mean? Like, I was like a protagonist. I had like 10 minutes of like protagonist screen time. And then I like cameoed in somebody else's story over the course of this 2-hour film. My role for the writer is for the character to exist until they reach their own personal character development is not expected. If I could be anybody in a story, this is going to be really hard to explain. If I could be anybody in a story, I don't think I would even be named. Or at least I wouldn't be seen, right? I am just
cameo in someone else's story. Like we are all cameos in the main story of Reign the Ruthless.
True, Nico! You are so true! If I could be anybody in a story, I would be someone who is unknown. Like the only way that I am known through the story is the impacts of what I have done impact the story in some way. But my name and my face ultimately do not pop up and are not that important. It is more important what I have done and the way that that has impacted the environment, the story, the narrative, whatever. And that is how I am known. Similar to how we're all the supporting cast hail. I'm glad I got TTS on that one. I'm very glad you did. That was good. That was good. I'm gonna assume that was pure skill, Nico. Similar to how a lot of like aliens. Oh my goodness, what's the silent box thing? What's that one called? Bird Box? It is Bird Box. Oh my god, it's actually Bird Box. In Bird Box. For anybody. Oh, hail. For anyone who has ever watched or heard of Bird Box, the idea that the antagonist is not shown on screen for at least some period of time, for some undisclosed period of time. The person that is undisclosed, that is unseen, that is known only in ripple effect. Yo, Peachy, what are you doing here? How are you doing? Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So just subscribed for 5 months.
Yo! To the subboard you go. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Hello. How are you doing? Welcome in. Whoop. To the board. For the people not on Twitch, subboard. Subs are basically a way to turn off ads on Twitch, and they're also a way to support creators. You can gift them, and you can also get them for yourself. And whenever people give subs or buy subs, they go on the board. It's a little subboard. I have like a handful of pages all taped together over on the side of my wall. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Fantastic. My favorite city just had a cake shake. Oh my god, a cake shake sounds so good. What city is that? Without being too super specific. In the safest way possible, and or you do not have to answer. What city? I'm doing absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Oh, there was another one that I need to add time for. Man, whenever I think about adding time, I think of Ashton. Squint. The Windy City. The Windy City. Or is that the Windy City? I think I heard of Bird Box. I ain't the one with the God in the sky that makes you go mad if you look at it. Yes, but according to leak things I saw, I think in game theory, it's a baby with a hard clay skin, cracks and everything. Oh, interesting. Wild. Fall Out Boy Town. Oh! Wait. I'm not gonna say it, but I wanna see if I... Okay, gotcha. Understood. Thumbs up.
I added less time than a lot of people.
I added less time than a lot of people. Okay, a lot is a strong word. And I feel like that's also circumnavigating slightly, but I'm gonna let you get away with it, Ashton. I'm gonna let you get away with it. And I'm going to squint at thee. Ashton, you freaking psychopath. Heart. I feel like a semi-important side character that shows up like once every episode. Like, I cleaned your entire house while you were gone away. There's like 9 people here. That's too many. Bye. And that's like 3/4 of the way through. I do one thing that's actually important and changes major thing and then disappear again. That's wild. You know what this reminds me of? At least for the people who watch stream relatively consistently and know what Blueprints is. The role that I would love is like kind of like an Anne Babbage role. That kind of reminds me of what Rain was talking about. Surprisingly, in that light, it's actually pretty similar. But the way that Anne Babbage is like, you hear her name and you see like little, like Rain is Babbage. You like see these little like breadcrumbs of what they've done and what they do. You know what I mean? But ultimately, you never see their face, and they don't get screen time necessarily, but they are the reason the story goes the way that it goes. Well, ironically, I think it's a hard play human baby in the sky that makes people go mad. That's so wild to me. For a moment, I heard Rain is Baba, like from Baba Is You. I don't know what that is. Is that in reference to the Baba Yaga? I have no idea.
That would be my DREAM asterisk roll.
That would be my dream role. That's so wild. I like being impactful. I don't necessarily need to be known. I just like being impactful. Baba is Rain. Baba Is You is a puzzle game. Baba Is You. Chat, it might be an exceptionally short stream today, but...
Rain is John Wick.
Rain is John Wick? Yes, indeed. No screen time. No screen time in John Wick. Very fun puzzle game. Interesting. I'm the only I'm the one character that appears twice.
Look in council.
Once is a comedic relief, and the other time doing something random that changes the course of the story that probably dies. Neat. I feel like under ideal circumstance, I'm the token emotional support / recurring weirdly well-designed secondary character. I feel the hell out of that. That's cool as hell. I don't know. I don't know if it's too vain to want to be a protagonist or to feel like you are a protagonist. I've always wondered that. You know what I mean? Is it bad to feel like the protagonist? Is it bad to want to be the protagonist? I don't think it is. But that's always something that's like kind of sat on me for a little bit. Or that has always sat on me a little bit. Is that a bad thing to feel? Is it vain to feel that? Is it bad to be vain? I don't know. This question of what would your character do if they met you brings a lot of like metacognitions into question in my head. I feel like the charity poll in a show where a kid got from Make-A-Wish. Oh my goodness. I wish I was the villain. Sadly, I'm not evil enough for that. I'm sorry for all my evil followers. Terrible. Can't believe this. I'm unsure what I am. I'll leave it to others to give input. Indeed. I usually like generally personally,
I think I'm the yapping char that peoples usually find annoying. Then when I'm not here, they wonder why everything's so silent.
Actually kind of deep. Oh, nope. Train of thought. Drug. I don't know. The introspection is interesting. I feel like the meta relationship. I mean, don't get me wrong. The meta relationship between characters and writers is a big thing about what the Mirror Myth does, right? Like I'm just spewing Mirror Myth philosophy without actually putting the Mirror Myth name on it, and I'm sure a lot of people have already caught that. But this is always the interesting things that come up, in my opinion. What does it mean? How do our characters impact us as people? What is that relationship? Where are the layers, and what order do they go? I'm gonna also be the smart but also stupid evil minion. That's fun. That's very fun, actually. I say something, but then I looked at it and I apparently confused you with Marvin. What? Wow, who could have seen that coming? Crazy. Cat, I don't yap. I'm not a yapper. Who made you think that I'm a yap? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, the BAP. This is a lot of fun. I don't know exactly how the script is going to go, but I'm very excited for it. I also need to hop to it. I need to do it very, very quickly. I am spending too much time. I realized the
Ori
characters
is
is exactly
yapping.
who I wanted to be, so I decided to live my best
They
in their
let us
shadow.
look
Indeed.
at ourselves from an perspective that ain't ours.
What's your Ryan question?
I made
The
my
question
own
that we were
role
talking
model.
about the entire time. Basically, the question we were talking about the entire time. I've asked a couple. What would happen? How would they react if they met you? That question, roughly. I don't remember in exact phrasing, but I would paraphrase regardless. So, but that was pretty much the question. And that relationship is especially interesting when you have meta narrative characters, when you have characters that recognize that people wrote them, that there are creatures that created their world. It's really interesting how to ask that question. Yes, exactly, Ashton. I don't know. I think it's especially interesting when you have characters that are
I
not
believe
violent
my
people.
original question was, what would they ask you? What would you tell them?
That wasn't the one I was referencing, but yes, that is also a really big question that comes with this entire package, in my opinion. It's especially interesting and especially profound to me when you have these characters that are very non-violent. It's extremely against their tenets, but everybody just has a breaking point, you know? One thing that's really scary about meeting these characters, about this hypothetical where you meet these characters, is that you know what makes them tick, which also means that you know exactly what hurts them. You know what I mean? You can have a character that you wrote that doesn't have that side of a backstory, but they are hurt in ways that the reader doesn't know. You can create these huge levels of complexity that go so far beyond what is written on paper. Yeah,
I'm
Orion
just
is not
imagining some rando finding the Omni Soul and forming a cult around the creatures that created them.
So funny story. Anyways. I don't know. There's a very I would call it very obvious reason why meta narrative is so interesting. I think it's really, really cool.
At Archwizard sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar. Oops. I hate when that happens. It just keeps happening. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm very excited. Yeah, do you guys, how many people, for the people who did end up watching the video on YouTube, do you have any critiques? Do you have anything that you feel like was left unanswered? Or do you have any conclusions that you went to that you feel like were not touched on in that video? This is kind of hopefully a moment where I can take in some feedback for future videos and just, you know, make the next one better than the last and so on and so on. The live streaming thing, I don't know right now, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm live streaming on Ori Don't. Normally I would live stream on Ori Does, which is kind of my second, basically, quote unquote gaming channel. And streaming on Ori Don't, this is only my second time ever doing that. This is kind of a new format because people usually have a lot of things they want to talk about, a lot of things they want to say. And I feel like this is a moment where I can talk to them. For people who don't know that I do stream every day on Twitch, but it's not nearly as obvious. It's not as connected to that channel and so on and so on. So giving people a moment to give their feedback on the same platform where the video came, I feel like is a good idea. Definitely different vibes, I'll say. I'm a lot more chaotic normally on Twitch. But I'm hoping that this is a moment where we can kind of clash those communities together and I can ask you guys what you think. Make Rain not fraud the answerings. Also add more Nebula. Oh, but of course. Thinking magic systems are flawed in universe. A vid would be cool. Magic systems are flawed in universe. Expand on that if you could. Can you tell me what you mean by that? I will tell you guys, I did have two others. Okay. I technically had two other videos in mind. Technically two others. I'm going to say one other somewhat more realistically. So it was if we met our characters personally, and can a game system balance real magic? Which might be in the same vein of what you're talking about, Rhubarb. But the idea is like, can you use a game system to make magic realistic, per se? And this is kind of based on the idea that we were trying to build Yuto through mechanics, right? Like making a structure with Breathless and stuff like that, which, as it's been rebalanced, is much, much more plausible. Very much more plausible. Oh no, release them. One of them, was Freddy Fazbear in or Five Nights at Freddy's in Utopia, which I feel like is a little bit more out there, a little bit out of nowhere. I've been exploded. I'm exiting convo temporarily so I can dunk my entire brain in an ice bath before I catch actual fire. Okay. I have no idea what happened here. I hope you do well in the ice dunk brain bath, Dino. Goodness, what was I gonna say? Oh, it was Five Nights at Freddy's in Utopia, because I thought it would be funny. And by funny, I mean I wanted to flex the system as far as it could and test, general system, general RPG as far as it could go with playing Five Nights at Freddy's in it. But I think that's a little bit out of left field. I think it's gonna be kind of out of nowhere for a lot of people, if I had to imagine. I made Ori forget. Good job, Dino. Oh, goodness. I got taken in ads. What was said? I was asking you what you meant, or to expand on what you were talking about with magic systems flawed in universe. That was my curiosity on it. And also, if there's a conversation that we've talked about, chat, I mean, you can say here, you can say anytime that we're streaming on Twitch or whenever, Discord, obviously. But anytime, if you guys have something you're like, I really would love to see like a full explanation on this when it comes to world building. I feel like world building has become the general topic that the channel has landed on. Then trying to figure out like what its niche is and where where we carve into the niche. I think that big niche is world building, little niche is meta narrative, which is really cool. And I shouldn't be surprised. I kind of am, but I shouldn't be. In universe, people should know exactly how everything works. Think of our world as magic, but replace magic with science. Interesting. Have you seen the magic in real life video? Stars, but changes the foundations. That changes over time. I feel like that was kind of touched on a little bit. It can have theories be proven wrong. Yes. I please ask you put in a part of your next world building video about how you do it in the Mirror Myth, even if it's Tori's attention span long. I would be okay with that. I'd be down to do that, actually. That's probably a good idea. But no one knows exactly how it works. I think that magic in real life kind of touched on that. I'm curious. Unless I'm misinterpreting, I could be. Some magic scientists looking into magic, then realizing there are logical/mathematical flaws that make no sense, and comes to the conclusion that some non-omniscient creature created the universe/world. That's cool. I like that. They know how only solid parts work, but not the whole. Like basic laws, like gravity. Makes sense, yeah? Dude, I want to do an actual lore dump video. One day I will. I promise you, chat. One day I will have a lore dump video on the Ori Don't channel. I try to be very careful with how I manage kind of what type of video contents we do. And unfortunately, Ori Don't is not super lore coded. One day, though. One day. I'm so excited for that. I know Rain is. Crazy that Lore Keeper Rain is excited for the lore video. One day, the infinite amount of past techniques you've used and beliefs, indeed. God, I did say it was going to be short, and I think we're at the end of our yap today. I know this is like an exceptionally short stream today, but I guess it is be kind of the nature of yaps. Really early, but I was about a half stream actually.
Tiny stream, damn.
Indeed, tiny stream. I know. It's terrible. Which, I mean, kind of makes up for the amount of super long streams. And tomorrow, I suspect, will probably be a very long stream as well. So I guess you got to make up for it
Nice.
somewhere. Finally watched Rain stream today. I don't know if Rain does stream today. So in the large culture, there would be different systems in different regions. For the people on YouTube right now, it probably doesn't... I normally stream roughly about 5 hours. This was about to be a 3-hour stream. You're telling me I come back from the movies to Ori ending? I know! It's crazy. I never end this early. But as I said, chat, a full Yap stream, especially about, like, super deep topics, can definitely end a lot earlier, unfortunately. I do not hate you, Hale. Tomorrow's probably going to be a really long one, because tomorrow is going to be Archipelago. If you guys are watching on YouTube, this will be purely on Twitch. You can join the Discord. You can join us in that if you would like. Archipelago is a game where basically me and a handful of other streamers and content creators are going to be playing a completely different games. And we have a death blink, which basically means that when one of us gets an upgrade, somebody else gets an upgrade in their game instead. And if one of us dies, all of us dies. So we're doing that tomorrow. And I would love to see you guys for that. Archipelago stream, indeed. It was a Saturday takeover. Say thank you, guys. Say thank you for Saturday takeover. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys for being here. I apologize for the short stream. Hopefully I can make it up to you guys tomorrow and the next day, because we have a lot of Pride events.
I tried to shake it, find a way to get you off my mind.
We have a ton of Pride events that are going to be going on. So if you're not following on Twitch, consider doing that, or just join us in Discord and get updates there. I appreciate you guys a lot. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, YouTube, for joining us. I really appreciate you. I love you guys. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys again super soon. Bye-bye, YouTube. Thank you. All right. Hello, Twitch. How's it going? I do believe that is ended on, oops, I closed the window. A funeral for Plumsh. What the hell is going on, Twitch chat? You guys are crazy. Hi, Duder. Yeesh. You.
Look in art chat Ori. I killed Dino.
That is gorgeous, and I fucking love that. Amazing stuff. Okay. Goody gumdrops. I'm going to have to work on the formatting for live streams on the Ori Don't channel. I need to be better about that. I'm not doing it super goodly, but I will find a way. I need to make like a PowerPoint presentation. That's my next avenue. So I'm just gonna start making PowerPoint presentations. I feel like I'm so scattered. I apologize again for the short stream, chat. I'm sorry that it was such a short stream today. Unfortunately, the fuel tank dies a lot faster on chatting streams, and I want to keep it like upbeat and things like that. Between formatting, consistency, and just trying to keep up in the conversation, everything like that, it can be a rough one, dude. It can be a rough one.
Bye Ori. It was nice for the chatting.
I appreciate you guys for the chatting. I love you guys. You guys are super awesome. We're gonna raid completely blind. I love you guys a lot. God, it is so early, dude. It's actually so early. I guess it is what it is. You know what? I can spend at least another minute berating Ashton. You know what? We'll start this. We'll start the raid timer, and I'll just berate Ashton in that time. Ashton, what the hell? For anyone who doesn't know, Ashton just donated $1,000 in between streams, no less. Imagine dropping an entire band when we're not live. Dear God, this is the timer with halftime. This is the timer with halftime, half bank. May I say? Actually, I don't know what you're planning on doing with the hours, but I hope it's something fun. I don't know if you guys.
Rain to Urple me more NGL.
Is it time to plan an actual like put something like there are things on the how to spend hours that have never been redeemed before? Is this where people are gonna come in and actually like join together and do the thing? I don't know, man. I don't know. Crazy shit, dude. Crazy shit. My God. Ashton comes out to cancel a stream. Chat, you know the gist. Copy that raid message, post in their chat with no sent you. I appreciate you guys a ton. We're probably just gonna, it's just gonna send us off without me knowing because it has a timer and I don't know what the timer's at. I'm just gonna yap until. I have 2 hours to share. I can do a lot, damn. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And that was with a half bank, no less. I mean, unsurprising. That was an ungodly amount of money, Ashton. Jesus Christ. My God. Thank you guys. Holy shit. Thank you so much, Ashton. Thank you to everybody who is really actually like making these things real. Like, I cannot even
Bye,
begin
Ori.
to describe. Holy hell.
100 vet